that, these candidate spaces, we tend to get a lot of new people to X spaces. So I can go through that once now. And then as we continue to get people up on stage, we can do that.
Awesome.
Hi, Paul.
Thank you.
Hello. And still, with all the complaints and everything else that I've pushed through, I am still sitting there without being able to advertise.
Oh man. Well, you know what? If you hit me up in the back channels, I can help, point you in the right direction to get that rectified, because Elon wants to know about things like that.
I can do that. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started here in just a minute. We're still getting up some candidates. We're going to be talking all things California. You're going to get to meet a lot of them, and they're going to be talking about what they're going to do, what their issues are, and how we are going to save California and save this country. Mike, your mic is open.
Caliax, go ahead.
Yeah, hey guys, just checking in. I just help I can help however I can, but you can drop me down if you got speakers up there. Just saying hi.
Hi, Michelle. Nice to see you. And hi, Bob.
Hi, Kimberly. Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Yes.
Is Joanna a candidate?
Joanna is head of communications for the GOP. Oh, wait. No, we got other Joanna. Yes, Joanna is a candidate. She's got it. She's going to go at 6:15. So we're going to do Denise first, which she should be in here any minute. And then we'll go to Joanna.
Well, since Joanna's here first, we can go to Joanna first.
Okay. And when Denise comes, we'll just pop her in.
Well, Joanna, do you have to leave at 6:15?
I have to leave as soon as possible, but I'm committed to do whatever I need to do here. And then as soon as I'm good to go, I will go. I think I'm going to have Philip Villanueva come on for the second part so he can kind of field any questions while I'm not available.
Awesome. Well, then go right ahead since you got to leave as soon as possible. So thanks for being here, Joanna. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Sorry, I was trying to get this logged in. So it's just a couple minutes about, why I'm running and what I'm standing for. Is that this first part?
Yeah, so you can do that. And before you start, I just want to let everybody know it's on the stage. If you haven't been up here before, if you want to raise your hand, you click on the little heart and then you go all the way over to the right and you'll see a hand over there. And that's how you raise your hand. And then, of course, you can use all the emojis. And everybody, please repost the space. It's bottom right-hand corner. Click on the bubble, and then you click on the arrows going around in a square. Thanks, everybody. Go ahead, Joanna.
Okay, well, I'm Joanna Garcia Rose. I'm running in Assembly District 27 for California, and it is basically Central Valley, Merced, Madera, and Fresno counties. It's actually a top pickup seat for the state party in the state of California. Politico dubbed the Democrat incumbent as one of the most vulnerable Democrats in the state of California. So it's really exciting opportunity for us here in the Central Valley. It's been a long time blue seat. So it's going to be nice to get a little bit of balance back in California by reclaiming conservative areas that, shouldn't have probably been this blue this long. Most of the Democrats that have won this seat over the last decade or two have been very moderate and been allowed to kind of get away with voting a little bit off party to make sure they can hold their seat. So I'm very excited about the opportunity for that. As far as my background and why I'm running, I'm just a working mom. I'm just a normal, everyday housewife like everyone else. I'm not a poli-sci major. I'm an ag business major. I did farming and water well drilling for a little over a decade with my first husband. Actually lost the farms after my divorce and cancer due to market volatility and water scarcity. So I understand the position many farmers in California are in because I've been there and I've suffered the consequences of it. And I'm just excited about having a voice that's going to advocate to get things better in California. We really need to focus on water and crime in the Central Valley. Our crime rate and our state's mismanagement of it is just unfathomable. And as the mother of a 3-year-old, I couldn't stand by any longer and allow this to be what happens. When I started running, I was a tax auditor for almost 5 years for EDD, auditing businesses for the state of California, their payroll, looking for misclassified workers and just making sure they're reporting things correctly. And I was just thinking to myself, why are we focusing so hard on auditing all these businesses and we're not auditing the legislature and the state government? We just keep asking for blank checks to raise more taxes, which is causing us actually to suffer a lot of consequences. You can't tax people into prosperity. That's not going to work. My sister was actually the poli-sci major. She worked for Margaret Thatcher's office during 9/11. And so, Margaret Thatcher's the one that said socialism's great till you run out of money. I think California's at the point where we're running out of money and you can't, bleed it out of us. So I've seen so much waste, and it's not even workers. It's just, we have a mentality in state government and probably federal government of a use, and you can't, bleed it out of us. So I've seen so much waste, and it's not even workers. It's just, we have a mentality in state government and probably federal government of a use it or lose it, hurry up and spend it instead of save it. And that's not going to work. And so as an auditor with that experience in civil service for a decade and in the public sector, as well as, private sector, small business owner experience for over a decade, I can kind of bring that insight to the legislature and help pass things that make sense. I think we need to pilot program 5 agencies or something to that effect, where we help give them incentivize them to save money and stop raising taxes. And we really just need to hold everyone accountable. Criminals need to be held accountable. Teachers, educators, what we're doing with state money needs to
Joanna,
be local
Joanna?
and held accountable. Yeah.
So I hate to interrupt you because
go for it.
Can we let Denise go real quick? Because I know that she has to go at 6:15, and so I know we're kind of trying to work it in. Denise, do you want to? Hi, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Hi, thank you for having me on, Joanna. I'm so sorry. My schedule, it's campaign season, so things are like crunch time and we're all trying to go to events.
Yes.
But thanks for having me on. So my name is Denise Aguilar. I am running for State Assembly District 13, that's Stockton, Tracy, and Mountain House. I have, even though I'm new to seeking a political seat, I have actually been working at the Capitol for almost a decade. My focus is legislation and policy that affects children, families, and small businesses. In my 10 years, I have seen and been able to build relationships across the board, both Republicans and Democrats. Because in California, if we want to push legislation through or stop it, we're going to need to work across party lines. And we've been able to be really effective in politics. The work I did helped stop bills that lower the age of consent so children can get medical interventions, and stop bills that would have required the HPV shot for children in 7th grade with no exemptions. Here in this district, we are in a very unique moment in time where in a different election, I would not have had a chance. But there's a couple of things that changed here. The sitting assembly member moved out of this race and went into another one. He ended up losing, but now it's an open seat. My opponent is a very progressive Democrat that both Stockton and actually all 3 cities know the kind of far left ideologies that she pushes. And so what's unique here is that because it's an open seat, because I already have name recognition because of the work that I've been doing, and because we are 43% Latino, I have access to a demographic that is otherwise hard to flip Democrat. And that's really what my focus has been in this campaign is focusing on Democrats, moderate Democrats, who feel politically homeless and who are just looking for a little bit of balance. And now also part of this unique opportunity is things have went so far left when it comes to schools, crime, homelessness, all of the issues that affect us every single day. People are sick and tired of not being represented. And I come to this campaign with an opportunity for people, letting them know, like, I work across party lines. This isn't a Democrat or Republican thing. We have a huge management problem in Sacramento. The failures coming out of there are now being seen. Missing in money going towards the homeless industrial complex with a $73 billion deficit. And people are just done with it. I'm at so many different events talking to Democrats, and I'm flipping those votes, which is crazy. That's why I say, like, we're in a different time where people are really tired of the supermajority. And this year we have a really good opportunity to start breaking that up. And in California, we need to cover 9 seats. We need to flip 9 seats in order to break the supermajority. And that can be done within the next few years. And so I really hope that people who are listening are engaged in politics in a way that's off social media, helping the candidates walk, helping phone bank, sharing on social media, hosting meet and greets. It's going to be up to us because all these candidates are up against a very well-oiled political machine. And they're going to throw everything at us. But as long as we are knocking on doors, talking to people, and we have volunteers to help us, we can flip seats. These are flippable seats because, especially in my area, we're purple here. And with the high demographic of Latinos, once they start hearing the issues and what has actually been passing in Sacramento, they're actually really mad. And they're now flipping to red. So I'm really excited for this. I just feel like California is worth saving. We shouldn't feel forced into moving because every state is dealing with the same issue. Ours is a little bit more extreme. So if we can start flipping seats here, we can show a model for the nation of what it looks like in the worst terrain. And so it'll be a little bit easier in. Oh shit, I gotta go. In a more friendlier terrain. And I'm so sorry, my forum started and I have to go.
All right, thank you, Denise.
Thank you.
Denise, this is Angela. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad I found. Oh, she already left.
Yeah,
Guys, I've been following her for a year, and when I just clicked on her profile, I'm not following her anymore. What up with that?
it happens to me all the time. I sometimes I'm not following Dustin. It's crazy. It just happens. It's a glitch. All right, Joanna, I'm so sorry that we had to do that.
Oh no, Denise is fighting a very worthy cause. We're both in this basically Central Valley. She's in the North Central Valley, so I'm very excited for what.
So Joanna, just 1 second. I just want to introduce Dr. Angela. Dr. Angela is one of the hero doctors during COVID that didn't just go along with everything, and she has been an outspoken advocate and voice, not only on X, but in real life, advocating for COVID patients and COVID protocols, all against COVID protocols all over the country. And she also resides in the state of California. So that is why she is my co-host tonight. So welcome, Dr. Angela. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Angela. We really appreciate you. And I do want to welcome all of our streamers on Rumble and Pill.net, QUX, and Kick.com. We're glad to have you guys and all our listeners on X Live and Spaces.
All right, back to Joanna. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
It's not a problem at all. Denise is in just a little bit north of me. There's a couple assembly districts between us, but I actually grew up in Brentwood and traveled to Stockton a lot, which is where her battleground is. So I'm very supportive of everything that she's doing there. So I'm happy to let her pop in. My thing is a little bit more flexible. I am headed to an event as well this evening. There's just tons of events to go to, but we have a really good opportunity here. there are 3 target seats in the state of California for the Assembly Caucus: Assembly District 27, which is mine; Assembly District 36, which is Jeff Gonzalez; and then I don't know Christy Bruce Lane's number, but she's another target flip that the caucus has been really watching very closely. For my race, as far as demographics go, it is a 16-point Democrat district, but it's 43% Democrat registration, 27% Republican registration, and then the balance 23% is, and then I think there's an 8% in there. There's a couple of percentage points that are declined to state and independents. So we have a really big opportunity because it's not over 50% Democrat here. I actually won the primary. People kind of got in an uproar over what I did because the incumbent had $1.8 million in my race. She spent $750,000 at least. I mean, there was nights where I saw her commercial 15 times in less than 2 hours, sometimes 3 times in a row. I mean, she just hit it with every dollar she could. And I beat her by almost 2 percentage points, by 1.9% in the primary. I beat her head to head, just her and I, by 1,055 votes. So we are going to flip Assembly District 27. There's a lot of people working really hard. Obviously, we always need more people. So statewide, we had like young Republicans come out from San Francisco statewide this past weekend to walk for me and Congressman John Duarte to hold Congressman Duarte's seat and to flip my seat. And so, if you're in a district where you don't think your voice counts, you don't think it matters, your voice does count, you can use it in a district like mine or Denise's or Jeff's. So, you pick your poison and step up and come to the plate and help us get these wins, because it's going to be beneficial statewide. When I'm talking about things I can do to save, literally, I could think off the top of my head how to save $4 million in 3 seconds. Just all of the things I see within the state of California, the incentivizing, hurry up and spend it, don't incentivize savings. That doesn't work. If private sector companies did that, they'd be bankrupt. And look at the state of California. We are bankrupt, negative 73 billion, 78 billion, 38 billion, whatever Newsom math is today. We're negative billions of dollars. And that's ridiculous because we don't need to be. And we don't need to get rid of agencies. Things like Denise was saying, Hispanics, my great-grandparents immigrated from Guadalajara. That's where the Garcia comes from. My district is 66% Latina. And it gets my foot in the door. I'm comfortable with that culture, even though I kind of look like a weta. I'm a white girl. I got a lot of German here. My dad's half Mexican, half German. And my mom's like a lot of German English. But it doesn't matter. I've been around that my whole life. I'm comfortable with it. Hispanic people, that's where my work ethic comes from. I really believe it comes from my Grandpa Joe's side. It comes from the Hispanic side of me, where you don't quit. You just keep going, you persevere. And what the government in California and what Kamala is talking about wanting to do is take away the opportunity for you to work your butt off and get somewhere. My grandpa was the first generation born here, and he worked his butt off at the cement plants in Iowa with all of our family. My dad got a full ride scholarship and was the first to go to college. He always advocated for us to go to school. That's why all of my siblings have been to college, because my dad was like, no, you work hard, you earn it, you can put yourself in a better place. And I am in a better place. And I want to see that for anyone, whether they came over today, yesterday, or 10 years ago, or 1,000 years ago. I want to see everyone have an opportunity where it's merit-based. If you work hard, you can be successful, and we need to have kids have that opportunity. And what I see in the school system and the wasteful spending is just very, very frustrating. Obviously, a lot of these candidates on here are going to go through all of that. I could talk for my entire life on this, but it's
Joanna,
just so frustrating. So I appreciate you letting me be on here. It's really
I know exactly what you're talking about with Hispanics. I have for the last 18 years worked with Hispanics in LA, and they are wonderful people, and they are like a lot of the country. They've just been misguided, and so
many people are great people. I don't know if she was Lao or Thai or Vietnamese or what it was, but a little Asian lady drugged me in the house to sit down because she couldn't speak any English to go get her her nephew to translate when I was door knocking. I mean, there's just so many kind, good, hardworking people that are forced into poverty right now. And it is ridiculous because they don't even realize that they have an option and they have a voice, and we don't have to keep voting the same way. You don't like what you see? Change them. Get them out. Get new people. Don't elect politicians. Elect civil servants. Elect people that are going to fight for our cause. And when they're not fighting for our causes anymore, get them out. We need to get these people out. So, you know, my district, my website, everything that we're doing is Joanna for the Valley. So if you want to help or join in, you can follow. I think we have Twitter, obviously, was just J Garcia Rose, but the other handles, Instagram, Facebook, website, it's all Joanna for the Valley. I'm Assembly District 27. My number is on the website. I had a guy that we door knocked, and he called me because he doesn't read or write, and he wants to figure out how to vote. He wants
well,
to vote
and
for me.
also up in the nest, above our heads, up in the nest, is a link to our website where we have listed all the candidates' donation pages, so that anybody who's interested in supporting these candidates can go up there and click on the link, and it'll take you to their page, and you can donate. So
and you don't have
Kimberly,
to be a baller to help people. You just, you know, I tell my friends at the state, buy me coffee, but I won't drink the coffee. Just give me the $5, and it helps with science. It helps with lit, you know. And same with, you know, Denise's page, everyone's page. You can't donate much. If many donate, we're in good shape.
go ahead,
Dr. Angela, jump in here.
I just wanted to ask if I could ask Joanna a couple quick questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, go right ahead. You're co-host. That's why you're co-host.
Sweet. So, Joanna, I'm 5th generation Central Valley. So Denise is actually in my family's area, but I happen to reside, let's just say, a few bird flies to your west, and won't be doing any good here. So I would love to come over to the Valley and help you guys. I wanted to ask you, where do you stand on school choice, like vouchers and mandatory vaccine for school-age children?
I mean, I'm not vaccinated. I'm a state employee, so I'll tell you that right now. I think it should absolutely be a choice. My son is vaccinated in quite a few things. He's 3, but I was scared to death. I have some friends with autistic children. I don't know the ties. I'm not a doctor. So I found I had to find a doctor. I had to leave the peds I had and find a doctor who would give him 1 injection at a time. And they're like, well, you're gonna have to come in every couple of weeks. And I said, okay, you don't need to stab my baby with 16 things at one time. Let's do it one at a time. And that was mostly because my husband had an adverse reaction. So we had a family history for that. But I just, I feel like I had the, you know, brightest little boy, and I just would hate to see any parent have to suffer with the consequences that are unnecessary. So I think it's really up to parents. If vaccines really do work, then if you're vaccinated, you're good. So you shouldn't worry about anybody else. Worry about yourself.
Well, I think they bundle them so that we don't realize just how many vaccines they're giving them.
And there's a few where there's like 2 in 1 shot, and I was okay with the combos, but we only did 1 injection. Like if you could do as minimal as you did, we did, and make sure that there was no adverse reactions. And part of that is because when I went to Thailand, I got like 17 injections in one day because I didn't realize there was all these vaccines you need to get if you travel to another country that I got scared into getting. So I had like typhoid, rabies, like I don't know, there's a huge card of like, I got a lot of injections at one time, and I had like 105, and I thought I was dying that night. So when I thought about that experience and stabbing my baby with 6 different injections in the same day, I was like, hell no. No one is doing that to my infant.
Well, when you're not in the middle of election season, you and I need to sit and talk because you got a lot to learn, and I'm happy to share with you on those issues.
Thank you. That would be excellent. I would love to be educated and informed on bringing stuff forward. And that's the biggest thing about the legislature is the people in office aren't the smartest people. They need to know how to get in touch with the smartest people in those areas. So I'm very excited about the opportunity to do that, to bring voices to the table. I think the vouchers, the education system is appalling right now. And the vouchers is one way to approach to have accountability. You know, schools need to focus on actually teaching kids things, reading, writing, arithmetic, all the other stuff, they'll figure out on their own. Really. I mean, we all figured it out on our own for hundreds of years. That worked. Parents, families, they did it in their own way, whatever they wanted to share with their children as they went through the aging process. And When they talk about 1955, that upsets me greatly because it's severing relationships of parents with their children. It's excluding them from knowing things. It's dangerous. And if the government's going to step in there, where else are they going to step in? When are they going to draw the line and say, we're not going to step in over this or that? You can't give them any authority when it comes to that. And if they're worried about transitioning children getting verbally, mentally, physically, or emotionally abused, then that child is probably, before they were, quote, transitioning, getting verbally, mentally, or physically abused over not putting the cereal away, because you don't all of a sudden become an abusive parent because your kid is transitioning. You're an abusive parent already. You need education, you need classes, and those children need resources and advocates.
Thank you, Joanna.
And you need to make sure that there's not mentally ill people in the schools promoting it to your kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
So
thank you for that,
so much
Joanna. I
for your
appreciate.
time.
Yep, appreciate you. Sonia, jump in here, and then we'll go to Michelle.
I'm just personally super excited to see how many women are up here running. Thank you, ladies.
Yes, Angela, Dr. Angela, thank you for being here. I was still trying to figure out the names of the speakers on this, but anyway, good points on vaccination. I'm mom of twin boys, and they're turning 20 next week. If I were to do this all over again, I would not have vaccinated them or slowed down the vaccination. And I was reading an article the other day, or I don't know where I've got this. Oh, I think it was the girl that was in the hospital that was required to take these vaccines in order to get this procedure. Yeah. Yes. And it mentioned the MMR. And you know what, Dr. Angela, it occurred to me that when I was pregnant, and I was going to go back through my own medical history, I am positive that when I was pregnant, they had me take the MMR during pregnancy. And that's something that
makes me want to vomit because they've never looked at safety studies. Don't get me off on that tonight.
And I have twin boys with autism, and they're very intelligent. So I wanted to say that. My name is Sonia LEDO. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having this panel, and for Jen for hosting. So I'm Sonia LEDO. I'm running for State Assembly District 15. I've been running around putting signs up all day long. So I just finally made it here on time. I want to start off by saying in my assembly, which is District 15, which covers a good part of Contra Costa County, Martinez, Pleasant Hill, Concord, and then going to East County, which is Brentwood, Antioch, and Pittsburgh, Crockett, and Clayton. My opponent is an entrenched far left, surprise, surprise, politician. You could look up her name, but she is finally being investigated by the FPPC. Her case number is 2024-00760. She's under investigation. She didn't report her financial Form 700s for the last 10 years, actually, deceiving the city of Martinez, where she held office on city council 10 years ago, deceiving the state of California, where she's appointed by Governor Newsom as a board of director for the California Housing Finance Agency. And when she ran for, she sits on the county board of education and sends her own kids to private school. And for when she ran for state assembly for this race, she didn't report properly. So she's finally being investigated. She hired Gary Winnick, who, go figure, he is the attorney who he used to be the chief enforcer for the FPPC, the same agency that's investigating her. So that's probably going to drag on, and I don't see a resolution or her being fined or anything until after this election. But my seat is kind of a quiet seat in terms of they don't see it as a flippable seat, but I think if anything happens, it's going to basically come sideswiping everybody as a surprise. Let me read you a little bit about something, it'd be about 8 minutes long, that I prepared for the other day for a panel. And
wait, did you just say 8 minutes long?
Yes.
Yeah, no. Sorry, we have like 2 minutes
okay.
each. Sorry,
let me just tell you a little bit about
I'm not hating you for trying, but no.
Yeah, okay, that's all right. That's all right. At least you know. But just to give you a little bit about a background about me, I am the daughter of immigrants that my father came from Cuba in 1960. So I'm I'm very vested in our freedoms that we have and protecting our freedoms. Right now, the big freedom that's under attack is our freedom of speech, we all know. And one of the bills that's sitting on governor's desk, and I think he passed the AI one, is huge. And I think that's going to attack our freedoms. Kamala, obviously, she's definitely attacking our freedom of speech. That education, of course, with AB 1955. And, protecting our children, like Denise said, sitting on the governor's desk is SB 1414, which makes it imagine it would make it a felony to purchase or solicit a child 15 years old and younger for sex. Can you imagine that it is 2024 and we literally have to have a bill passed to make it a felony? So I'm going to leave it at that and engage more as we go into this. But my name is Sonia Lito and I'm running for District 15.
Quick question for Sonia. Oh, sorry, guys.
I just wanted to say great to see you, Sonia. Go ahead, Dr. Ann.
You too.
Quick question for you, Sonia. How do you feel about mandatory deportation for people who came here without permission?
So that's a good question. I really think it depends when. I mean, we have a lot of people that have been here working and have become a part of our country, and have ITINs, and are contributors. I come from a mortgage lending background and, 30 years of this. And back then I remember doing programs, first time buyer programs. And sometimes I'd try to pre-qualify people and they didn't have any papers. There was nothing you could do. Back in the day, they would buy Social Security cards and then we started running them and all of a sudden it'd be like, this person is deceased. But every now and then I'd actually have somebody that would file tax returns. And back then they would just put 99999 on their tax returns. They did everything right. Filed tax returns, they paid their taxes, they ran their business. And I think there needs to be a pathway for them to be able to stay here doing it the right way. What's happening right now with 11 million people coming through the door and getting our benefits that our taxpayers pay and prioritizing them over our veterans, them over the disabled individuals that are here, them over other, programs that we're paying into. I don't believe in that. And yes, they should not have walked over here to begin with, and they need to be vetted and they likely need to be deported. This was, I think, letting them in, to affect and shift our entire elections. And, that's very clear. So, you can't go back in time. It's a very complicated thing. I do believe in a pathway to citizenship, but I absolutely do not believe in what's going on right now.
Totally agree.
Thank you for that, Sonia. Appreciate you. Michelle, jump in here. And then other candidates on the stage, just raise your hand and then we'll go through one by one and everyone can introduce themselves and have a few seconds.
Hey, for Assembly District 41, which goes across the foothills in Southern California. If you're anywhere from the LA County, the 210 goes across the majority of LA County. And so my district starts in beautiful Pasadena and La Cañada, Sierra Madre, Altadena, known for the Rose Parade. And then it goes across the 210, but I don't have all consecutive cities. They cut out a big chunk and then I pick up Monrovia and Bradbury. Then it cuts out another big chunk. And on the east end, I have Laverne, San Dimas, Upland, Claremont, and Altaloma. Parts of Rancho Cucamonga. And then I shoot up the 15th, where, we've been having some fires recently with Mount Baldy and Wrightwood. But I go all the way up to Pinon Hills and Phelan. So it's a huge district, but that's okay because I love getting to know the northern east end of my district, which is they are just such amazing patriots, and the way to see the communities come together during these fires is incredible. But it brings up another point, which is why do we have these fires, and legislation and how we can make a difference as leaders. So a lot of it has to do with just the insanity of having these left-wing organizations who, they call themselves conservatorships and what have you, and they're here to preserve our forests. But then they're doing things like, putting injunctions on California because they want to cut back the forest in order to actually save it. And situations like this where we have fires. So when we have situations like that, then we know the system is broken. I think Bukele said it the best. When the Empire State Building was built, it was built in a year or close to that. Now you look at California, and we have a $13 billion train that goes to nowhere, and it's still not done. 10 years later. And this is what's broken in our politics. So I think that as we get closer to election, you have these amazing candidates on here. I really want to give them all an opportunity. I'm just going to do a big shout out because we have like Paul Jones, Tony Rodriguez, Leticia, Castillo, and I think Peter Hernandez is on here too, who's running for Congress. These are all candidates that form the You First team. They've all signed the Family's First Pledge, meaning that they're going to stand for life and the sanctity of marriage, our Second Amendment, and just their freedom of religion. And they're amazing individuals up in California doing this. You heard from, Denise earlier, and Sonia. I'm so excited to meet you. Amazing, as well as Joanna. It's just incredible to hear the people that are just, they're putting it all on the line. I was laughing with my husband the other day, but it's not so funny. But, I had a very successful consulting company and did very well. I got to retire in 2017, but looking at how things are in just 4 years, I'm actually considering what does the future look like for us. And I was laughing with my husband because I'm like, you know what? I'm completely unemployable with the Fortune 500 companies now. All those companies that employed me, and I had the opportunity to work with them with the cancel culture and everything happening the way it is in our corporate environment and business culture. I doubt anybody would even let me through the door. So we do have a culture that we need to combat. And when I say combat, I don't mean do it the way they do it, because we have the opportunity to bring the salt and the light. We have eternal truths that go on forever. They don't change with the culture. These are things that come from our biblical citizenship and our biblical background. So having said that, I'm just so excited to see all the faces that I see here tonight, all these little profile pics. And so I'm going to leave the floor to the other candidates to share a little bit about themselves. But I just love it because I know we all have the same interest, which is to put God first, right? This country is still one nation under God, and to work for the people's interests. This is what America was founded on, our Judeo-Christian values that we were set out to serve and also to chase after the American dream. That was an idea of excellence. And what we see today, even, as we talk about immigration and everything, how shameful that we are offering this subpar America to the people that are coming to this country, right? They don't know the way we know America. Yeah. So with that, I'll just give you guys the floor, and looking forward to hearing from everyone else in this conversation.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate you. Everybody in the audience, thanks for being here. We're just going to go through all of the candidates one by one, let them introduce themselves and say a quick little thing about themselves, and then we'll jump into issues. If you guys have any questions, put them down in the purple pill, tag myself, Dr. Angela, Kim, and we will get some of the questions read in here. And then on a personal note, I'm just wondering if anybody's from San Diego County. I have a concern about San Diego County that I'd like to bring up if anybody is in that area. If not, no worries, but I'm going to go to Katherine. Go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me back again. My name is Katherine Piccinini, and I am candidate for Congressional District 10, which is in Contra Costa County. Takes in some of this, it takes in 18 cities, but some of them are like Brentwood, Concord, Clayton, Walnut Creek, San Ramon, Danville, Lafayette, Pleasant Hill, Oakley, Bethel Island. And the incumbent that is running against me, I'm not running against him, is seeking his 6th term. So it's time for him to go. My pledge to everyone is putting the people first. I love America, And my concern is that if we don't change the course that we are on, we could very well lose her and all that we hold dear. America is our gift, but more precious than that is our children and our grandchildren. They are our legacy. They are our inheritance. And we've been called to stand. We're in a spiritual battle, light versus dark, good versus evil. I'm a mother of 4 and a grandmother of 5. When I look into their eyes, I say, you are worth fighting for. And so I stand here, not giving up. I will fight for your safety and security. I am for personal, financial, and national borders. The incumbent, what I've decided to do to run against him is I have created a report card where I've gone through all of the bills, or not all the bills, but a good portion of the bills that he has voted on, and sharing them with my constituents so that they can see exactly where he stands and where his heart is. I'll just share a few of them, and then I do want to save some of the other things I have to say towards the end. But one of the things that he has voted for, and it's huge, it's our border. And he is totally okay to keep the border open. He's not concerned, I'm thinking, against all the fentanyl that's coming across or the sex trafficking that's taking place. Also, with the sex trafficking, we're thinking of the children, with the educating that's not taking place, rather indoctrinating. And in my words, I call that a raping of their mind and a stealing of their innocence. And so it was perfectly fine with the incumbent to vote that it was okay to have biological males in women's sports, but you won't find that on his webpage. Not at all. He won't tell you what he's doing. He has one thing on his webpage and he votes another way. Also, what he voted against was if a child is born during an abortion, would you have the baby receive medical care? And he voted no on that. Going back to the border.
So Katherine,
Yes.
I just want to give everybody a chance to
Absolutely.
introduce themselves. And then as we're going over those topics, I would encourage you to bring up those things that he did, that your opponent did vote on. And then also, just out of curiosity, who are you running against? I know you don't want to mention his name, but
yeah, I'm sorry it took so long. I am running, or he's running against me, Mark DeSaulnier.
awesome. Thank you so much, Katherine.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
you. And then, guys, if you're a candidate or you are on the staff for a candidate, like, I don't want to hear it's like your best friend or your friend of a friend, right? But if you're literally on the staff working for the campaign and you're down in the audience and would like to come up and introduce yourself and your candidate, come right up. Or if you're a candidate, come up on stage. You didn't have to be invited. You can come up too. I'm getting messages. So everybody's invited. Just know it might take a minute to get you on the stage. All right. All right. Let's go to Leticia. I think I'm pronouncing it wrong.
That's right.
Oh, okay. Oh, Kim, sorry, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead, Kim, and then we go to Leticia.
I just wanted to really quick reiterate, please repost the space. It's bottom right-hand corner. You click on the bubble, and then you click on the arrows going around in a square. And also, if you want to raise your hand, you click on the heart and go all the way over to the right, and you'll see the hand there. Only people that are on the speaker hand corner, you click on the bubble, and then you click on the arrows going around in a square. And also, if you want to raise your hand, you click on the heart and go all the way over to the right, and you'll see the hand there. Only people that are on the speaker panel will have that option. So if you're down in the listeners and you're trying to do that, it's not going to work, but you can wave at us. Go ahead, Leticia.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having this platform in order for us to, let people know who we are. So my name is Leticia Castillo. I'm running for State Assembly District 58. That is in Riverside and San Bernardino County. It covers out here in Riverside County, all of Jurupa Valley, portions of Eastville, Corona, Riverside, and then the city of Grand Terrace in San Bernardino County. It's a pretty large district. It's about 63% Hispanic, Latino. And I know Joanna was talking about some of the target races. My seat is a state target seat. It is one of the flippable seats. In the primary, I had two opponents. They split their vote. I had nearly 49% of the vote. My district is number one on the list of assembly districts throughout the state that has had the most shift in increase in Republican registrations and a decrease in Democrat registrations. So I've been out knocking on doors. My team and I have been knocking on doors, meeting people. I'm not skipping doors. We're going to every door. I speak Spanish as well. So I've been just talking to people about the issues, and people are fed up. They're ready for change. And here I am to let them know, hey, we're going to do this.
Awesome. Thank you, Leticia. I appreciate you. Look forward to hearing more
Thank
as
you.
we go. All right. The three guys. I'm just gonna go in the order you are. It's nothing personal. All right. So let's go Tony first, then J Rod, then Mike.
Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for the invite. I'm super excited to be part of this group. I am running for California State Assembly.
Is Tony speaking? I can't hear him. And if that's
Yes.
the case, I'll just drop him
He's
down real
speaking.
quick. Okay, hold on, Tony. I'll drop you right down and bring you right back up. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Sometimes that happens, guys. The space gets a little wonky, but we'll get him right back up and back on the stage.
Just re-request, Tony.
By the way, wonky is like one of my favorite words, if you don't know that.
Wonky is the perfect word. All right, while we work to get Tony back up on the stage, J Rod, go, and then we'll get Tony back in here.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. My name is Joshua Rodriguez. I'm running for Assembly District 69. Covers Long Beach, Signal Hill, Catalina Island, Avalon. I got a pretty hard race against Josh Lowenthal, which is a legacy name here in Long Beach. I'm a police officer with LAPD, 12 years on, 5 years in the Marine Corps as an MP, 3 years in the National Guard as an MP. I have a degree in organizational leadership, father of 3, and a beautiful wife that lives with me, obviously. Anyways, first thing that I stand for is law and order, obviously, because I'm a police officer. I see the direct damage to the streets. We have zero bail. Everyone laughs in our face when we arrest them, and they get released immediately. School choice, parental rights, parental notification, and going back to core subjects in schools. Those things are vital and important. Budgeting for the state, we are overspending exorbitantly, and that's what I'm here for, to fight for all of you and do my best. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, J Rod. Appreciate you. Mike, go ahead. And I don't know where Tony is. Tony, if you're down there, you need to request. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm Mike Greer. I'm running for District 2, which is half of Santa Rosa to Bodega Bay up to the Oregon border, a 5-county area. I'll put on over 30,000 miles going up and down the district. It's a area that is about 51% Democrat and 21% Republican. In the primary, I did have the most votes. We had a 20% crossover vote. But at that time in the primary, I was facing a number of Democrats, including Rusty Hicks, the chair of the Democrat Party, who actually lost. So it's been a fun time. They spent $3.5 million fighting amongst themselves. I spent like 17,000 and got the most votes. I am a school board member up in Del Norte County, up on the Oregon border, up in Crescent City. I've been on school board for over 20 years. I've been a union president for California Teachers Association. I was the only one in the state of California that was a union president. I was a service center chair over a 5-county area of Colusa, Yuba, Sutter, Nevada, and Sierra counties, a president of a school board up in Paradise, and a Republican. So I've had a lot of different experiences. Right now, I'm also the Director of Region 1 for County Boards of Education to the California School Board Association. And I'm also on the Legislative Committee for the School Board Association, that we meet and go over the different legislation that is being put in for education. I've had the opportunity to disagree with quite a few bills with it. We're finding that we have a tremendous amount of crossover vote right now. It's looking better and better all the time. I even have the Democrat Club of Cloverdale ask me to speak to them. I speak to the Fraternal Order of the Druids. If somebody is there, I go and I speak. It doesn't make any difference. And so we're finding a lot of crossover vote up in this area. And like I said, it's very, very blue, but we're finding that they are really tired of what's going on. So that's who I am, what I'm doing. We don't have a lot of money, but we're doing what we can. And so that takes me 7 hours to get from one end of my district to the other, and that's without stopping and stuff. So open for any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you being here. And we will get to questions here in a second, just trying to get through everybody. I noticed a couple people joined. Mario, I see you. Paul, I know you were up here on stage and you're one of our guests, so I do want you to get in here as well. I don't know if you don't know how to raise your hand, but if you don't, it's the little heart with the plus at the bottom over to the right-hand side. Perfect.
Well, we also have Tony, right?
Yeah, Tony's back up.
Oh yeah, I was just running through everybody real quick. And then Paul, or Peter, I see you in the speaker request and you have a locked account and it doesn't say that you're like running for anything or anything. So if you could just DM me and let me know like if you're a candidate. If not, I usually don't let locked profiles on the stage. So
hi Jen, I can vouch for him. That's Peter Hernandez.
You can vouch for him?
Yeah,
Okay.
He's our congressional candidate.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, great. I just made an idiot out of myself. All right, good,
Yeah,
great. All right, let's go to
I know
Tony.
this is X, but for whatever reason, he's locked out of his own account. He can't get into his congressional account.
No problem. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate you. Go ahead, Tony.
Hi, well, my name's Tony Rodriguez, and I'm running for State Assembly, the 44th District, which is LA County. It goes from Burbank, Glendale, La Crescenta, Montrose, Sherman Oaks, Studio City, Sunland, Tahunga, Shadow Hills. So it's a wide area. And I'm running, I'm a big advocate of schools, and I was speaking at school board meetings as a concerned grandparent. And when I saw what was happening at the Glendale schools, and I'm sure some of you've heard about it, and LAUSD schools, I decided to run because we didn't have a Republican candidate running for the district. I was a surprise. My opponent spent about $700,000 between the three of them. I spent $1,500 and managed to be second. He's very concerned with me. We're having 3 debates, so I'm super excited about that. And what everybody's talking about, I'm into parental rights, public safety, school choice, and fiscal transparency, because we don't have that in California.
We don't have that anywhere.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate you being here as well. Paul, jump in here.
I can do that. Okay, my name is Paul Jones. I'm running in here in Southern California in District 62. Runs from Lakewood through Bellflower, Paramount, Linwood, which is where my opponent is the mayor of, and into Huntington Park. It's 540,000, 230,000 voters. Pretty good size. As far, I'm a Marine. We'll start there anyway. And I ran before a few years ago for Congress, which was a nightmare. I mean, I had zero support, had no idea what I was doing. So when I was asked to run for state assembly, I did a lot of praying, an enormous amount of praying. And a week later, I went down and went ahead and registered as a candidate. So we all know how that turned out. My opponent, as I said, he's the mayor. He's been in politics since he was 18. He's now 43. If you know anything about AB 1955, you will find that his 126 endorsements include every left wing that's sitting in Sacramento right now, including he's endorsed also by Mr. Ward, Chris Ward, who is the author of AB 1955, along with 4 of the other sponsors and co-sponsors. He spent a whole lot of money, $757,000 in the primary. I ran against. Well, he thought it'll be 2 Democrats, on the general ballot. Didn't turn out that way, of course. And 3 days later, the other Democrat opponent called for a meeting. I met. She endorsed me, so I'm actually endorsed by a Democrat, along with a donation check. But I don't know. Most people I know have seen or are a fan of Keanu Reeves, the running series with John Wick. For me, going to Sacramento, I'm that John Wick character that you want to send to go after the boogeyman, which is the Democrats and sitting up in those seats. That's who I am.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you being here. Thank you for your... Oh, I thought you were done. Sorry.
No, it's all right. I was just going to say, married 28 years. My wife is my finance treasurer. She's my manager. You name it, and she does it. So that's something that is so important that you have the support, which God knows we all need that. But God was great enough. I have a campaign headquarters in Bellflower, right across the street from DMV, which I share with John Paul White, which I share with Mario Paz, and whatever candidate needs something or a place to meet. That's what we do. Because if we do not stay together and operate as one body, we're going to have a real tough time taking California back. Anyway, God bless you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Paul.
I have one.
Oh,
Sorry, Jen.
it's okay, Angela. Go ahead.
I have a sarcastic question for Paul. Congratulations on your beautiful marriage. And however, would you allow her to run your staff meeting for you as your candidate?
Yeah, I would.
No, you're so sick.
I know I should have said no, but I had to say yes just to get everybody, for a joke, because we don't have enough time for me to tell any clean jokes. But one of the things that I want you to know is my wife has been with LAUSD for 25 years. She was given a choice when it was mandatory, either take the jab or you're fired and you won't get your 25 years. Since then, she is what's known as a long hauler. My wife she's still trying to hold on for the next 14 months to finish her retirement. But I did not take the jab, but it is the most horrible thing to watch someone in your own family who was forced into it, who is now suffering daily.
I would have told your wife the same thing I told my daughter in another very large, probably the second largest school district in California. Don't quit, make them fire you, and then you're going to have a hellacious lawsuit. And in the meantime, I'll give you one other little hint. She's not technically a long hauler. She's vaccine injured. Long haul is a very, very different thing.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So, like I said, I'm the guy you're going to say. Thank you.
Paul, hold on a second. There's a bunch of other people I got to get introduced, and then we can get back to the topics. Okay, Mario.
Well, my name's Hey, Paul. How are you doing?
Mario.
My name's Mario Paz.
I see you there, bro.
I'm running for State Senate District.
All right. Maybe he doesn't hear me. Tim, help me out here.
Yeah,
Okay, Mario, you were one of our we have guests who we invited, and there are a couple alternate spots, and I do have to get Peter up here as well. So I'll let you introduce yourself, and then I'm gonna rotate between Sac, Mario and Peter on and off the stage, so they'll get a chance. But our panelists who were invited, I'm keeping them on stage. And then if you are here and you're a candidate, you're just going to get rotated. So that's all I just wanted to put out there real quick. And then Mario, give it back to Mario.
Mario, you may not have been able to hear Jen. You've been introduced. Are you able to hear her?
I'm able to hear her. Thank you so much. My name's
Awesome.
Mario. My name's Mario Paz. I'm running for State Senate District 33. I overlap with Josh Rodriguez and Paul Jones. My district runs, if you're from LA, everything on the 710 from Long Beach all the way to Commerce. Just a little bit about me. I am married, 21 years, small business CFO. What drove me to get into politics is it's my first time doing this. My son and two of my boys were at Long Beach Unified School District, and my wife started a group called Long Beach Parents United Against Mandates. And with that, neither of my kids are vaccinated, are COVID vaccinated. There's other vaccines, but they did not do the COVID jab. And right now, because of still the state's mandates, my son went to college to go to ASU, and that's where he's at right now doing aerospace engineering. My opponent is a guaranteed yes all the way through. She's very tied, much like Josh's, Josh Lowenthal. She's very tied to Long Beach in this community. She was a city council, and then she went into a state senate. Am I breaking up? Oh my goodness.
No, you were clear.
No, you're
okay.
good.
Sorry, because I just heard a beep, and that is really why I got in. And I just go down through all the bills, and the reason why is my second son was born 805 grams, and he was born at 1 pound 12 ounces, and my oldest son was vaccine injured when he got the DTaP. So we just stopped the vaccines at that point. I really wish I knew as much as I did about vaccines now, that I probably wouldn't have had any vaccines for my kids. And the reason why is I'm one of 8 kids, and my family, I don't think my parents went to the doctor to get vaccines at all. And my entire family is pretty, healthy, and we don't have any issues. I grew up in Norwalk. My father is a son of an immigrant, legal immigrant. They came through Ellis Island. My wife's a legal immigrant. I support legal immigration, but I'm not for illegal immigration. I am for looking into it and deporting the illegal immigrants that are coming in and causing crime and violence. Is there any questions?
Awesome. Thank you, Mario. Sorry, I was trying to get back to my button.
Yeah, no.
we appreciate you.
All
right. So
Sacktown.
Right. There we go. So let's go to Sacktown, and then I believe then we got to get Peter up here, and then we'll go through Peter, and then we can open it up for discussion a little bit.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sonia from Sacramento. I'm the campaign manager for Christine Bish. She is running for Congress in District 6. She's running against Ami Berra. We have a very, very flippable seat. In fact, he is so scared right now. Normally, he would never do a debate, but he actually called her for a debate on October 17th, which will air on NBC. Local areas, whatever your local network is. So I would encourage all of you to look at that, watch that. This is a huge flippable seat in California. So that's pretty much all I have. She is also the one that uncovered the investigation for Adam Schiff, who is not a legal resident of California. His legal residency is in Maryland. So that story is with John Solomon right now, and that should break anytime right now. So keep an eye out for that.
Sonia, I wanted to, that's really incredible because we all hate Schiffy Schiff. But yes. I want to say that for that local debate, maybe we could figure out some way to pipe it in so that, people all over the country can tune in to cheer Christine on.
That would be fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I do have to get, oh wait, Peter up here. So Zach, I'm gonna drop you, bring Peter up, and then I'll recycle everybody.
All right,
But
thank
if
you
the
guys.
candidate's here, I kind of want to keep everybody on stage that's here. But I did want to give you a chance to introduce yourself and your candidate as well. But I'll bring you back up. Just give me a few minutes.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, let Peter. All right. Hi. Oh. Hi, Peter. Nice to see you.
Everybody, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, sir.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me on. So my name is Peter Hernandez, candidate for Congress in California's 18th District. Actually, so this district encompasses Silicon Valley and also the rural agricultural portions of Monterey, San Benito, and Santa Cruz, or Watsonville portion of Santa Cruz County. And yeah, so I'm a first generation Mexican American, served actually so I actually should lead off with, I'm a Bible believing Christian. I actually ran for office, firmly believing being called out of the pew into ultimately the public square. And so I served first 4 years, 2014 and 2018 on the school board, saw firsthand what was happening with the stripping of parents' rights. And then 2018 to 2022, ran for county supervisor in San Benito. And I actually served 4 years, and I would argue is when one of the darkest of times, obviously during COVID in 2020. And I'll summarize basically my term with my convictions as far as what happened on 2020, April 28th, when I challenged the public health officer. Ultimately called him out because there was so much confusion and division, as just like the sons of Issachar, paying attention to the signs of the times. I was understanding there was a lot of division, a lot of confusion and fear, right? That was driving people to compliance. So with that understanding and challenging my board and my public health officer, I actually shot down the mask mandates 3 times, ultimately brought forward an informed consent resolution that was hosted on the Epic Times. And when I challenged the public health officer on April 28, 2020, I didn't realize why the Lord would have me write everything down. But sure enough, it's because I found myself, when I finalized that statement, challenging him to the point where he'd find himself quitting 2 hours later after I called him an unelected bureaucrat. And I don't say that with a sense of pride or arrogance. It was more to call out the reality that he is not a legislator. He doesn't have Article 1 authority, the power of the purse. And so because I used that power of the purse, I asked my board of supervisors to fire him because he was not willing to meet with us. And this was literally a month after we had just shut down. So it was not a happy time. It was not a comfortable time. My family sacrificed a lot. We dealt with a lot of issues. I have plenty of stories to tell. But fast forward, I ended up bringing forward an informed consent resolution because I saw the vaccine mandates coming. And I argued basically that we would have a discriminatory process where we would ultimately separate people from vaccinated to non-vaccinated, because I saw the contradictions that they were pushing, right? The fact that you had one person technically running our state for over a year or close to 2 years, that's not the way our Constitution was intended. So that being said, I would say my most proudest moment was when I actually brought forward an In God We Trust resolution. That some people obviously that were very left were divided, pushing back on me, but I didn't. I just knew I had the conviction. All that fighting that I put in, by God's grace, ultimately the very people that were attacking me on the board ultimately asked me to become the chair of the board of supervisors amongst a Democrat majority board. So I know how to pray. I know how to fight. I dug in deep, understood my Constitution, my legislative authority, and ultimately my Bible enough, I think, to be effective as God wills. And that's why I'm running for Congressional District 18 against Zoe Lofgren, who obviously, her being on the January 6th committee, being very divisive and using the rule of law basically as a wand, and she would wave to do her will. And by default, this being funny, by God's grace, this district was actually gerrymandered to become a Hispanic majority district. I would obviously argue it was intended to be a Democrat district. It used to be 17% for Hispanic. Now it's 65% Hispanic. They obviously got the Hispanic. They did not get the Democrat. And I know that there's tucking tail happening in the district because I'm picking fights wherever I go. I'm obviously in a positive way, not in a negative way, where I'm actually engaging on the issues. I'm talking to Latino Democrats, the Hispanic Democrats. I'm talking basically to the district, not shying away from it. Honestly, the more we engage with conviction, I firmly believe we'll find solutions as God wills, and we'll find ourselves at the winning end, not at the losing end. So that's pretty much the compass of my district. Thank you, ladies, for allowing me this opportunity to share.
If I could jump out of my chair and clap, high five right now, give you a standing ovation, I would. Woohoo! Great job. That's exciting. I love what you're doing.
I roll with some good people, let me tell you.
All right, people, listen, I'm going to run a tight ship here because we want to get to some topics. You have like a minute and a half to answer the question, okay? I will mute you, okay? I have no problem muting people, so please don't make me mute you. Just kind of like, condense your answers down, minute and a half. And I'll kick it off with the first question.
Wait.
Oh,
Jen,
okay.
before you do that, I did want to, because Tami, she is supposed to be here tonight, but she has bronchitis. So I wanted to read her little statement real quick and introduce Tami, and then we can go to the fire round questions. All right.
Dude, go ahead.
Sorry, I had to get to it. So Tami, Nobriga is a Christian conservative who stands for God, family, Second Amendment, and America First, stepping up to hold Sacramento accountable for the mess they've made in California. Tami Nobriga, the only conservative running for Assembly District 9 to save our children, and our God-given rights. God bless you all. Sorry, didn't mean to butcher that, but I tried.
No, you did good, Kim. Thank you. Appreciate that. Guys, retweet the space. Appreciate you. So, guys, for the candidates, kind of in light of the Diddy news and the allegations being thrown around Hollywood about child sex trafficking and sexualization of children. And this is something that really affects California, not only with Hollywood, but with the southern border and the child trafficking that goes there. Up into Los Angeles and kind of in the areas that you guys are running in. And that's something that can be really affected at the state level. So if you guys get into office, what would you do in order to kind of, stop and stem what is going on with the sexualization and trafficking of children? Okay. I'm going to go Sonia first, then Michelle.
Yeah, so my response is AB 1955. It's horrible, and if elected, I would definitely try to change that and restore parents' rights. The issue we have, and it's going to take several election cycles, is that right now we have a supermajority. It takes 54% Democrats to make a supermajority. Right now, they're at 78% in both the Assembly and the Senate. 80 Assembly members, 40 state Senate members. We're at 78%. So if we flip a few seats, it's still, no matter what goes through, it's going to take several election cycles. This whole thing, like AB 1955, it's all been really planned out, because the more they indoctrinate our children, the more they can have that third, fourth generation of adults that go along with the flow. That's cool. My child needs to have this in the school. They're not going to fight it. Either the parents aren't fighting it because they were indoctrinated, or they just simply don't know. A lot of parents just don't even know that this law passed. So we need to go in there and I think really make sure that there's an awareness to the community and really start rocking and trying to dismantle that public school system as it is.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Michelle, go ahead.
Yeah. And 2 words, not hide. We have so many legislators that hide from this subject matter and pretend like it doesn't exist. And even when we do have rock stars like Shannon Grove, who just brought up AB 1414, they will dismantle it. She brought this piece of law so that we could help the children. And what did they do in her committee? They added a hostile amendment to it, carving out 16 and 17-year-olds, because the left think that the only thing we can offer 16, 17-year-olds is the opportunity to sell their bodies in order to make a living. So there is definitely something very unique that happens when we become a legislator. We have influence. Once you are the person in that position, you have an opportunity to call a press conference. You have an opportunity to hold events where you have the opportunity to actually bring all your community in. And this is what we need to do. As leaders, we need to be at the forefront of these topics and not try to shy away from them, but actually bring light to them. And I'm a Christian, so I believe that I bring the salt and the light. So, amen.
Thank Thank you for that, Michelle. I forgot I got a bell. Hello, I will bell you.
I love
Okay,
it.
So if you hear the bell, kind of like wrap it up. All right. All right. Let's go to J-Rod, then Katherine.
Yeah, so as a law enforcement officer, I have a lot of experience in this. One of those things that we've lost the teeth in law enforcement to question children and try to help them, get rid of the predators that are putting them on the street. So we need to rescind the Welfare Institutions Code that stops law enforcement from questioning victims or children that are being trafficked, and then put that back in place because we need law enforcement to be able to go after the Joes and the pimps to put them back in jail.
Awesome. Thank you for that, J-Rod. Go ahead, Katherine.
I support President Trump's agenda for 2024 on day one, close the borders. I did a post last week, I believe, where I used a picture of the stadium of University of Michigan that holds 100,000 people. And the wording said, this holds 100,000. There's over 300,000 children missing. Where are they? Well, we know where they are. They've all gone and slipped through the hands of the sex traffickers. Also, there's 5 bills in Congress waiting to be passed, and they all have to do with DNA testing. Why hasn't that happened in Congress yet? So that's one of the first things we need to do is pass something where there's DNA testing for every parent or every person that's coming across the border, pulling a little toddler with them.
Thank you for that, Katherine. Appreciate it. Does anybody else on stage want to answer the question?
Before we move on, I did want to say to Peter, if you can, please follow us back so that we can DM you and give you information. Thank you. All right, you got another question,
Paul.
Jen?
Paul. And guys, if you're on stage, make sure to put your hands up and answer questions. Otherwise, people are going to be able to hear from you. So go ahead, Paul.
All right. I know that not many have had the opportunity to be on the border. I have. I spent an entire week on the border with an independent journaler and in Chesapeake, Arizona. When these sections of the wall, I mean, they cut them. They literally, from the other side, from the Mexican side, they literally cut them out and they push them out of the way. I stood there. I have it on film. I had to deal with the emotions of confronting a child trafficker. This individual had more gold teeth than I've ever seen in one's mouth. She knew she knew I was upset because she was with 2 young boys. They were not brothers either. And she just stood there and laughed in my face because she knew there wasn't a the thing I could do about it. Nothing. All I could do was to take a video of her. But the border has to be closed. If you have the opportunity to go to the San Diego border, go there, because I will be going here shortly. But you need to actually see what's happening on our border. You'll be just as angry and try to keep your temper as I do. Anyway, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. Go to Peter.
Yeah, so the greatest, I believe, deterrent of the abuses of what's happening when it comes to the border is the power of the purse. That's technically what Congress's duty is. And a lot of these abuses are actually happening, which a lot of people don't realize, is through the administrative agencies. There's too much funding that's allocated for even nonprofits that allow the Red Cross and other agencies to basically abuse the border process. But I do believe there needs to be a tightening of the asylum process. The Remain in Mexico policy needs to be reinstated. We also need to shut down the border, obviously. And ultimately, that means we have to have a very strong conversation about what it means to have a very clear and efficient process when it comes to the immigration policy. We have to de-incentivize the funding stream. And I think in a lot of ways that's happening through the state agencies like California, which is doing sanctuary status. That means at the federal level, there needs to be a serious conversation from Congress to be able to cut off the power of the funding. You know, President Trump actually had mentioned it when it came down to the wildfires in California and the abuses, basically, of Gavin Newsom, who would allow vegetation to burn basically out of control. That means he's going to use the power of the person to say, look, if you're not willing to address the water issue or not willing to address the clearing of vegetation, that's just an example of what needs to happen when it comes to the funding. Through the state governments that have sanctuary status, there needs to be a check and balance. I would argue that I would have to do that at the federal level to hold Gavin Newsom accountable.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Peter. Anybody else? Going once, going twice.
I wanted to say to Peter before he goes anywhere, please follow us back. I know you don't have your official congressional account right now, and we might be able to help you out with that. But I want to.
I'm sorry, I actually do. I just suck at the technology stuff. I have a team that manages it. If you go up Hernandez_for_Congress, I have all the social media platforms and everything. I just don't run it. And so I don't know how to get myself in there because they're the ones that manage it, the content and all that.
All right, perfect. Then we will grab that information. If you can put your information down in the bubble, and so you just check on the bottom right, tap on that bubble, and you can comment in there. If you can put your handle in there for me, then I can get your information and get it put on into the article so that people have the links to your donation page.
Will do. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Angela, do you have a question for our panel?
Sorry about that. I put my phone down for a second when the dog was barking. One of my biggest passions, obviously, is the schools, but the borders matter. You guys have already asked questions about the border. I'm curious where you guys stand with regard to parental choice with schools, vouchers for California schools. Anybody?
Let's start with Mario. Go ahead.
I support vouchers for schools. We use our tax money, going through the public school system and seeing what's happened. The parents have to have a say, and the only way you could change the school districts is when they move the money to the schools that represent the parents' values. That's where I stand. I'm very passionate about the parents' choice and parents' rights because we know what's best for our kid. Like I said, I had a child that was born 1 pound, 12 ounces, and the teachers don't know that, but I know that, and I know what my kid can and can't handle. And so by going to schools where you go and they match your values, when you're a Christian, you want to value life, and that's the most important part. And they're teaching the kids to not value life, and that's why that's what I feel. The vouchers are so important.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Tony, jump in here. Then we'll go to Michelle, then J-Rod.
Well, that's what really got me into running for state assembly, the parental rights and school choice. I think, like most parents, we don't want to co-parent with the government, especially with the government in California, because they don't have our kids' best interests. From the books they want to read to kids to the teachers wearing T-shirts, advocating what their lifestyle is. Parents have a right to decide what school the kids go to. It's our money. It's taxpayer money. That money does not belong to the state, and taxpayers have a right to decide to do with that money.
Great. Thank you for that, Tony. J-Rod, or Michelle, go ahead, and then J-Rod.
All right. So, yes, but I also believe we need to really look at the alternative, which is homeschooling. We are seeing more and more families pull out of the public school system and go to homeschooling. And we can see in the statistics as far as how they do in their placement tests, the statistics as far as who graduates and mental health. Homeschooling is the way to go. And I would hope that more and more parents look at that option. California actually has some of the most lax legislation when it comes to homeschooling. So it is an alternate, and parents need to check out the various programs, the various systems that are out there that can help them, from co-ops to individual study plans. And the thing is that it's not like traditional school where you have to be on top of your child for 8 hours in a classroom. It really, the minimum, depending on their age, I think begins with like 3 hours and then increases from there. But there are so many different activities that can be included in that idea. So I would really hope that a lot of these families that think that it's impossible, it can be done. I'll share with you one story and I'll be quick. There was a mom in Glendale.
Okay, no stories, no stories. Sorry, nope.
All
You're
right,
gonna get dinged. You're gonna get dinged, Michelle. That's number 2. That is
Jen?
number 2, Michelle. Yes.
To be clear, and I want to speak in on what Michelle said, it's been found that you can actually give families that money that's allocated per pupil to be able to do homeschooling. So I would love, to the point that she just made, if the money follows the student and the student's being homeschooled, that money or tax abatement, whatever it comes in, stays with the family.
Thank you for that, Dr. Angela. J-Rod, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So my position on school choice is 100% for it. Being a parent that actually purchased a home in what we thought was going to be a good district to go to public school, we because of all that's being taught in the public schools, that's very alarming. Transitioning, LGBT pronouns, all those things, we weren't agreeing with that. So our kids are not going to private school because of that reason. And we think it's unfair as taxpayers and as parents that we can't even send our children to public school when both my wife and I were products of public school.
Great. Thank you for that, J-Rod. Sonia, jump in here.
Yeah, just to put in my position that I'm 100% as well for school choice. My understanding is that school choice does include the option to homeschool. So I'm 100% for that. My neighbors homeschool their kids. I know many parents that did. Not only, they're very well-rounded. You can do extracurricular sports and activities. You don't have to be in the physical school environment or after school, outside that building in order to do those things. Also, for many families, now we're in 2024. Do you really need to show up at that same building every day? That was a different time back then when the school system started. Now there's families with a whole bunch of different situations of commute, juggling, how to get to schools here and there. So there should be more choices allowed. I think having one building, a public school building, having everybody herded in and out that have different learning styles, et cetera, et cetera. We are in 2024. Let's get on 2024 and allow families to choose the best way that their children learn. And that's my position.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Our schools shouldn't look like prisons, right?
Let's not even get started on that subject. All right. Peter, I don't think you've spoken on this topic yet.
Yeah, I mean, Congress is one of its duties is the preservation of the individual rights, the amendments themselves, right? The right to the First Amendment, the second, right? The right to speech, press, and association. So there's a lack of representation when it comes down to the school systems, and I would argue through the state. Everything's becoming so centralized and so top down that really the only way to reverse course is, I would argue, that the model that God had established, that the best government is the local government. That means we need to restore power down to the local level. That means there needs to be checks from the federal government, even to the state, if there's a means to bypass state government to enforce or to address. And there needs to be, I would argue, a constitutional amendment to really tighten it, where the parents have a stronger right. And that means when it comes to the funding, as it pertains to the parent, then there needs to be more authority over that funding from the parent against the very states that would care to abuse those First Amendment or Second Amendment freedoms. Fourth Amendment, right? When it comes to illegal searches and seizures, you can apply a lot of the amendments, but I would argue is maybe you add the parental component, and that also applies to the education, where it defines the education system. It's only consistent with the authority of the parent that's over that child.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Peter. I do want to go on to another question, but Michelle and Sonia, I'll let you have like another 20, 30 seconds, and then we'll move on. So Michelle, go ahead, and then Sonia.
Okay, very quickly for the state legislators, something to think about when we talk about the money following the student. We have to understand that even in our private schools, we are seeing these same policies follow into the private schools, and that's because the money follows the student, and the money is coming from the state, and the state is putting requirements in regards to what needs to be taught. So this is why you see especially in religious schools where they're adopting, same-sex marriage couples to come in, and they're teaching all this stuff. So we need to make sure that when we pass legislation like this, that there is a clear understanding that there is no shackles to the money that tells the parent how they have to educate their child.
Thank you for that, Michelle. Appreciate it. Sonia, jump in here. Sonia, are you there? Can Sonia not hear me?
Sorry. I didn't unmute. So I just wanted to touch real brief on Peter's comment about constitutional amendment and why we are at such a threat of our democracy right now. I agree with you, Peter, but where we're at, 78% supermajority, and the Democrats, they want to take 100%. And here's why, and all these things that are going on in the schools, because as you get to that generation and the next generation of indoctrination, you're going to make it easier for those children to become adults. And now they want to lower the voting threshold to 17. You can pre-register at 16, because once you pass those constitutional amendments at the state level, and then it has to go to the voters for a majority vote, it's going to just make it that much easier. What we need to do to flip seats is huge, and we need to be talking to the moderate Democrats.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Sonia. Okay, so I'm going to rapid fire a question to everyone on stage. Just yes or no. No explanation, just yes or no. Would you support the Board of Education, or do you yes or no? Board of Education, yes or no? Michelle, go ahead. Okay. Leticia, are you there? I don't know if she's with us. Okay. Tony, yes or no on Board of Ed?
No.
No. Okay. Let's go to
No.
Okay. Perfect. Paul, go ahead.
No.
Okay. J-Rod, go ahead.
No.
Awesome. Sonia, did I ask you yet?
Big no.
Katherine?
No.
Awesome. All right. So I do have to get Michael back on stage, Michael Greer. So I do have to cycle somebody down, just re-request, and we'll get you back up on stage. Kim, do you have a question for the panel? Ew, Mario. I see you over there, okay? I think you're trouble. You are definitely trouble, sir. But I'll bring you right back up, Mario, okay? Go ahead, Kim.
I think that my question is, what is your plan to, do you have a plan to caucus together? It's really important that we see unity and, really support for each other, right? Because you're stronger when you can do that, and you can, get a group together to really push on these people. Because, I'm a big proponent of bringing the bully back. What is everybody's just a short, quick plan to strengthen and bolster your positions?
And real quick, Kim, Leticia, I dropped you down, so Mario re-request, and I'll bring you right back up as soon as you request. I just had to get Michael back up on stage. Go ahead, Kim. Call on somebody.
Well, I'll let Dr. Angela go, and then then you can answer.
Oh, no, I had another question I wanted to ask when you're done.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Let's go to Katherine.
Well, we always have strength in numbers. And when we're like-minded, I just think that there's just an immense amount of things that we can take care of, we can vote on. I think, am I the only one that's a congressional candidate? But nonetheless, there's strength in numbers.
Thank you for that, Katherine. Would anybody else on stage like J-Rod? Go ahead.
So I'm a millennial, so I believe that we need to utilize the technology like X that we're using right now to bring not only constituents back together, but to bring Republicans to make our voices heard in California and really set the tone. I think that's going to be the best play. I think this is what's really brought us all together. The censorship has really reinforced our fight, and we need to keep it up.
Well, this platform, this is the new town hall, right? So I think that utilizing this and trying to be as efficient and as strong as possible is going to be everybody's best bet. And I love that idea. We really do have to have the communication lines open because the people have forgotten that they have to consent to be governed.
Awesome. Sonia, jump in here.
Yeah, I would like to see strengthening starting down from our county, the county level, Republican, Contra Costa Republican Party and all the other counties, strengthening there and encouraging younger voters to join the party, encouraging younger voters to get involved, any voter, but really just getting that next generation excited about our party. I think it needs to start there and getting involved, city planning, different positions, which is really what the Deep Blue State has done. And that's where we're at now. People don't want to be involved, and we need more of that from that level.
Great, thank you. Michael, jump in here.
Okay, one of the things that's happening that a lot of people aren't aware of is the GOP is actually having a union web page. So a lot of union members are getting together, meeting every Thursday on Zoom, discussing how we can get union members, the rank and file, to help us. And I think it's something that hasn't been done before. But now we have a tremendous number of people that are starting to get on the website, a lot of union members, whether they're teachers, IBEW, Teamsters, to go ahead and work together and to work with the actual, workers and not with the people on top that give the money to the Democrats. And it's something that, check that site out. It's California union members, for the GOP. Because I think, to me, it's really shown something. I was able to establish a web page with all these other union members that are Republicans.
Michael, can you put that down in the bubble so that we can add that to our resource list?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
And Michael, I don't know if you were here when I laid the rules down. When you get called on, you have like a minute and a half to answer the question. You'll hear a little ding bell, and then if you're still going, I'm going to mute you. Okay. So
yep,
if you hear
I heard it, and
bell,
I wanted to talk. And I wanted to talk about the school board stuff, since I'm probably one of the most qualified as a teacher, as a school board member on state school boards. Our problem with school boards is it needs to stay local, and let the people local direct the education and not the state.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Michael. One more rapid fire question from the audience. So just yes or no. Would you support a recall of Gavin Newsom, your horrible, horrible governor? So Michelle, go ahead. Then we'll go to Michael and so on.
100%.
Awesome. Thank you. Michael, go ahead.
Yes, I would.
Awesome. Sonia, go ahead.
100% yes.
Katherine.
Absolutely.
Paul.
100%.
Cool. Mario, I see you.
100%.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
J-Rod,
you guys have done it before.
100%.
Awesome. And then Philip, I don't know what your deal is. Who are you real quick? Are you a candidate?
Hello, everybody. This is Philip Ian. I'm with the Joanna Garcia Rose campaign. She was the first one up, but it's just here representing the campaign. And I love what I'm hearing, that fellow candidates are in the trenches. And I heard another campaign manager on, and just working really hard to flip a lot of seats here. And I'm just really encouraged to be on with you.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Philip. Appreciate it. Dr. Angela, jump in here.
Of course you said that right when I put a bite of food in my mouth.
Of course I did.
Okay. So my question for the candidates, would you support a constitutional carry in California?
Excellent question. I love it.
I was going to say, that's such a good question.
All right, let's go to Paul. You haven't gone first yet. Go ahead.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I applied for a CCW, and they're telling me, no, it's a year off, even though I've had problems out on the road. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Let's go to Sonia. Go ahead.
That's a yes for me. I think we need safety, and I think that situations are preventable if we have that.
Great. Thank you for that. Let's go to Michelle.
Yes, for all the reasons we have the Second Amendment. Yes, absolutely. And also, I'm going to give up the rest of my time. We have an amazing state assembly member or candidate running here. Her name is Tracy Schroeder. She's in the audience, and I'm happy to step down and give her some time so you guys get to meet her.
Oh, Michelle, that's so sweet of you. I appreciate that. Tracy, if you'd like to come up. Michelle, I will rotate everybody on and off. That's what I'm trying to do now. So for the guy who just spoke, who I'm totally blanking on your name right now, from the campaign, I moved you down just to get Leticia back up because I think she lost connection and I've been calling on her and she hasn't been able to answer anything. So just re-request and I'll get you back up on stage.
I believe it was Philip.
Philip, thank you for that. Okay, Katherine, go ahead and then we'll go J-Rod, then Michael.
Yes, I support Second Amendment rights. So absolutely.
Okay, J-Rod or Michael, then I can't remember what I said. One of the two of you got.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. I am endorsed by NRA and also the CRPA.
Awesome. J-Rod, go ahead.
I am 100% for concealed carry rights in the state of California, especially as an officer. I want you guys to be able to defend yourself. It shouldn't be an elitist position by the state to stop us from carrying.
Awesome. Tony, go ahead.
Absolutely. I'm for the Second Amendment and the Constitution of the United States.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Tony. Mario?
Yes, as a CCW carrier, yes.
Great. Thank you for that, guys.
See, Jen, I told you all Californians aren't crazy.
Listen, I'm from New York. Okay, I know how it is. New York City does not represent us, right? Albany does not represent us. Rochester does not represent us. Most of New York is very, very red, and people don't realize it. And I know it's the same for California. And I know you guys also have a similar problem to New York with the environmentalist lobby. I know you guys have wind farm and solar farm. And you know, even when you go to build border wall, which is something I'm very familiar with, because we actually did build border wall on the southern border. A lot of times all the time, you have to do like environmental impact statements, and God forbid the spotted frog, you know, lives in that area. You're not allowed to build a border wall because we'd rather protect the spotted frog than our own country. So as you know, how is that balancing act for you to come from a state like California where the environment and the environmental lobby is so important, yet as conservatives, as Republicans, you know, it's not always a top ticket issue on our side. How have you kind of balanced that, and what would you like to see going forward? All right, let's go to Michael. Go ahead.
Okay,
and actually, Michael, I think you're the one who inspired my question because I think you said Paradise, and I know Paradise had that horrible fire. And I know a lot of the fires in California come because they don't get out the underbrush, right? And like in New York, the environmentalists don't let them dredge the rivers, so all the towns flood. And it seems like they put, you know, more importance on you know, frogs and the environment than their own people.
Yes, I was actually the school board president at the time of the Camp Fire, and we did lose everything. But the district that I'm representing right now is very much involved in that. We have wind farms that are going to be put out on the ocean that I'm fighting, 25 miles out in the Pacific Flyway to shut down our fishing. We have the logging that's been shut down. They're looking to shut down more of the logging. My opponent happens to be the chair of the conservation nonprofit in Santa Rosa. And so we are going at it, something that I'm facing in the election, because they want everything their way, and the regulations that are there, you can't do anything. And so we have to go ahead and stand up for what we believe. And that's just basically that, you can stand up for having environmental concerns, but let's put things where they belong and put them in the right locations, not places where it's going to destroy the environment and that we're experimenting.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Michael. Appreciate you. Let's go to Katherine. Go ahead.
Yes, the Bible tells us about idols in our life, and I believe many of the environmentalists, this has become an idol to them. And so my motto is all about putting the people first. So it's not environment first, it's people first.
Thank you for that, Katherine. Sonia, go ahead, and then we will go to Peter.
So for those of you that are not in California, we have this great act called CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act. And for the state that is working so hard to build more homes, it can take up to 2 years for something to be built, because what it does is a terrible act, and they're trying to fix that. During that time of that CEQA, trying to pass all the environmental this and that, all these lawsuits pop up, the red-legged frogs, this, you're blocking my view. And so for a builder to build and for us to have more homes, how do we do it? There's 2 years right there. So we have a lot of problems with environmental. Also, Joe Patterson, Assembly Member Joe Patterson, tried to pass if you're a victim of a wildfire and you lost your home and you're trying to rebuild and you're a victim and you didn't originally have solar panels, let's not require it. The governor vetoed, or it didn't actually get through the assembly. So, this is ridiculous. Yeah, the environmental regulations definitely need to be reformed.
Thank you for that. Peter, jump in here.
So scarcity seems to be the philosophy of those that would enter into this under the assumptions of good intentions, right? It says that the road was paved, the hell was paved with good intentions, but scarcity is literally a philosophy. Ronald Reagan, I think, said it best. The more the planners fail, the more the planners plan. The administrative agencies that deal with these climate issues never have an actual specific target on how they're going to solve it, how they're going to address it. I dealt with it in the 80s when I was in middle school, when they talked about, back then it was the global warming, now it's climate change, that's the new moving target. They don't care about solving problems. We really have to go at it with an honest intention to prove that there are solutions. And obviously by default, that means we're targeting the energy sources that are lighter, that are denser, that are more efficient, that are obviously cheaper. Technically speaking, you can argue that fossil fuels has taken third world countries out of poverty. And still, in our country, ultimately, we are still under fossil fuels being the biggest energy source, especially in our energy grid. We are also the lowest carbon emitters, right? We reduce carbon emissions because we have better technology and higher standards. We need to basically presume and create an outcome where we're expecting policy to actually show them that we have a simple process to address climate issues, or I would argue, just things that have to do with dirtier air, dirtier water, and we're going to provide solutions while we're not impacting your pocketbook.
Thank you for that, Philip. J-Rod, go ahead.
So I am for getting rid of a lot of the red tape for environmental issues. We need to explore nuclear energy. As a legislator, we need to propose that. Going back to nuclear, geothermal, and utilizing coal and oil again, because we're not an exporter anymore. We need to go back to drilling people versus the environment at this point, because we're in a bad spot.
Thank you for that. Dr. Angela, I have one more question. Do you mind if I ask it, or do you want to go first?
Go ahead.
So a big issue that we really need to address in this country is the fact that we are giving illegal migrants in California, especially, a lot more benefits than we are giving the veterans. And in most cases, we are going in and kicking the veterans out of housing in order to house these illegal migrants who shouldn't even be in our country in the first place. So what would you do to help alleviate the burden that has been placed on veterans in this country? That's totally unfair, because they're the ones that should be taken care of first. And I know some of you are veterans, and thank you very much for your service. Really appreciate all you've done to help us and keep our freedom. Sonia, jump in here.
First of all, I want to say that it's an absolute travesty that any veteran is homeless. It should simply 100% not be allowed. My father, I said, came from Cuba. He joined the U.S. Army. He's a U.S. citizen, and he's an Army veteran. It is the saddest thing that they are even allowed to be homeless. And I think first thing that we need to do is take all that money that they're wasting on trying to redefine what a first-time buyer is to include undocumented people, and to define that once a veteran, always taken care of.
Thank you, Sonia. Appreciate that. Paul, jump in here.
If you've ever been in Southern California, if you've gone down to the Wilshire district, you will find the VA there off of on Sepulveda. We used to call it Sepulveda VA. Once a month, myself, my wife, and our volunteers go down to West LA, and we take in clothing. We have to take in toiletries. We take food, everything. They went from the tents on the lawn to 6 foot by 8 foot tool sheds on the parking lot. The problem is that the buildings that are being remodeled are being controlled by the developer. They only allow 45 to 50% to be occupied by veterans. Along with CalVet, they have 4 buildings, 4 stories high. You have to be a resident of California for 1 year. These people that are sitting in those 6 by 8 sheds, they are residents. They've been there for a long time. Anyway, thank you.
I wanted to follow up with that, Jen, because our really good friend Millie did a documentary on that particular area of the VA where, you know, that piece of land that runs along Sepulveda that was gifted to the veterans for life, that has been stolen and gated and locked them out of, that used to have its own post office and its own barracks for our veterans when they came home. That is a real problem that needs to be addressed. You know, when you guys get in there, a lot of people don't know about it. And the other thing with that piece of property is that it has a ton of oil underneath it. And these oil companies are actually drilling horizontal underneath the ground and sucking out the oil and stealing it from the veterans.
For sure. And if you guys don't know who Millie Weaver is, I would really encourage you guys to follow her. She's a great investigative journalist here on this app. She also has done a ton of stuff, especially around the 2020 election. So I'd follow her. And she did do an amazing documentary a couple of years ago on that veterans property. I believe it's in Beverly Hills. It was grandfathered to the veterans and then they stole it because they suck. So, okay, Peter, go ahead.
I firmly believe that a big part of the division when it comes to the immigration issue is because we've devalued citizenship. To a certain extent, we devalued love for our country, right? I mean, there's no greater love, right? Like the Bible says, the one who would give his life up for his friends. That is what it means to serve in the military, to be willing to risk your life. That's one of the things they ask is to raise your hand and ultimately not only swear no to the Constitution, but to protect the interest of this nation. So there needs to be obviously a prioritizing of increasing the value, and I would argue the patriotism of our country, but also citizenship. I think Victor Davis Hanson also said, being a citizen means you're a co-ruler. That means you're informed. You understand the value of what it means to be citizens. We've devalued citizenship, or I would argue the left has, and by default, they devalue the interest of what it means to preserve those rights that come with it, and you really can't have a right without a duty to protect it. Those things should always come together. That should be in our legislative process. That should be the expectation of our immigration process, and for sure prioritizing those that have been willing to give up their lives. They need to come first in line to be known that when they come back from service, that they're going to be beloved and protected.
Thank you for that, Peter. And Peter, just a little heads up, the background noise on your mic is like really, really loud and it kind of drowns you out a bit. So when you talk, you might just want to like step out.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. I just want people to hear what you have to say. So I just wanted to give you a heads up.
I appreciate
And I was trying to do it gently. Okay, J-Rod, go ahead.
Okay, as a veteran myself, I think it's appalling that we're spending any money on people that are not citizens of the United States. And so we need to redirect that money to veterans and Americans that are homeless first. We need to hold our neighbor to the south and even to the north if they're sending people that are undocumented into our country. They are NATO countries, and they're supposed to process those people before they even hit our border, and that's not happening. So California needs to get into the fight with the rest of the nation in stopping that.
Thank you, J-Rod. Appreciate it, and thank you for your service, sir. Michael, go ahead.
Okay, I think one of the things, all of us probably have the same opinions about it, but I have like 4 forums with my opponent, and this is one of my issues that we're going to be talking about. He is endorsed by Governor Newsom, and he believes in letting this happen. And so I think what we need to do as candidates, we need to let the public know what is happening. The press doesn't. They don't say anything about it. So we as candidates need to use this as a platform to go ahead and let people realize what's happening to our veterans. They want to give it all, not only to our veterans, but also to our legal immigrants that have been here for a long time. You know, and so the way they want to hand out the money. And I think it needs to be part of our platforms as we talk to the people during the election, because it's a big issue. It's one that you can easily go into, and they can't deny what's happening.
Awesome. Dr. Angela, go ahead, and then I got another question.
All right. So when we talk about environmental issues, mine are a little bit bigger because I want to start holding, I don't know, corporations and people that are more active in participating in what's destroying our environment than our farts or our cars. No offense. But the governor of Tennessee signed a chemtrails ban in law. Would you be in favor of California doing the same?
Go ahead, J-Rod.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go to Peter.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, basically, when it comes to the issue of chemtrails or anything having to do with engineering the climate, where they're trying to control the outcomes, to me, it just really highlights this philosophical sentiment of folks that are involved in thinking that they can somehow move the air and water and ultimately control the environment. I think to a certain extent, that's why we honestly need strong God-fearing people involved in this process to make sure that we don't act like gods and try to create outcomes that all of a sudden we're basically making lab rats. And we saw this in 2020 with the shutdowns, with the COVID mandates, with the vaccines, where they were all of a sudden playing God and trying to even control the virus from spreading. So I would argue that's why we need to have stronger protections, accountability components for those that abuse it. And I think personally, especially being a county supervisor, we need a Nuremberg 2.0, separate topic, but ultimately when it comes down to the abuses of people's freedoms.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate you. Katherine, go ahead.
Absolutely, I would ban chemtrails. I have been speaking about them for years, and most people look at me like I'm crazy. But when you walk out of your house and you see an X in the air, it is not a contrail, it's a chemtrail. They are finding traces of aluminum in the snow on the top of Mount Shasta. How did that get there? It is the chemtrails. And I live in a somewhat rural area where we have lots of farming, and all of that is falling on the soil, on the crops, on our children, in the playgrounds, and on us. And people wonder why there's so many allergies going on, but there needs to be a revealing of the truth of chemtrails.
Thank you for that, Katherine. Michelle, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think I can say it better than the folks that came before me. I agree with them 110%. From a different perspective, when we talk about leadership and who is in that office, we need to get people in who are willing to have these conversations. And so what the most important thing that we have is our influence as we become legislators. And so we need to be speaking about these things, putting it out there so that, because we already talked about this, we are the news. We are the platform that people are going to be utilizing in order to get this information. It doesn't come through journalism. It doesn't come through, traditional media. It's going to come through us. And so we need to grow that backbone and be ready to have these conversations, regardless of whether people laugh us off, regardless of whether they want to hear it or not, or they're going to like us or not, or it's going to make our lives harder. We have to have these real conversations.
For sure. Thank you for that. Mario, then Paul.
100%. I'm against chemtrails, been on it for a while, and Katherine said it best. And Michelle, with the leadership, I 100% agree. Chemtrails, the aluminum in the chemtrails is having impacts on on our farm and everything, our farming, our vegetables, and on the children.
Awesome. Paul, jump in here.
It has to be ended. You look up, you see it, you know what it is, and it's end it. That's it.
Thank you for that, Paul. So I have a question, and it kind of goes back to the border, because I think it's so important. And building a wall and stopping and stemming the illegal immigration is super important. But I also think addressing the cartels and the cartel violence and the cartel stranglehold that they have on California, whether the government wants to admit it or not. When you have cartel members paying off members of the government, of politics, and then you have them, owning businesses, running businesses, and strong arming businesses. I think that it's not only the flow of people coming across the border, it's also the stronghold that the cartel has had. And we see that with Tren de Agua. And the Venezuelan gangs that are moving in and taking over apartment buildings in other parts of the country. What would you do to, address the cartel issue in California and their strangleholds? Michelle, jump in here.
Yeah, this is so incredible that we're touching the subject, because I just had this conversation this afternoon, and I was discussing Bukele's recent speech that he gave on this. There's something very important we have to understand with this illegal immigration, is that these individuals are not coming with the same mentality. America has the American spirit, the American dream. We were built on the idea that we are all created equal, that here is a place where if you roll up your sleeves, work hard, you can get it done. We have a history of excellence. We have a history of striving. We have a history of justice and balance, which nowhere else in the world do they understand it and know it the way we do. So when we have this tidal wave, the tsunami of illegal immigrants coming in from desperate socialist, communist countries, they come in with the attitude of one-upping. What do I mean by that? The way Bukele explained it. Let's say you have a nice line where people are waiting for whatever, get into a concert. Well, one smart guy is going to go, ha, 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 I'm going to cut in line. So that one person cuts in line, and all of a sudden somebody else sees it and goes, well, if he got away with it, I'm going to do it too. And then all of a sudden that person gets followed and that person gets followed. And now instead of having a nice orderly line, which is considered lawfulness, we now have lawlessness, because everybody is bum rushing with the same idea that I'm going to one up you. And so this is what's happening with what we see, this lawlessness coming in. We, or not us, because we saw it coming, but when you talk about the Democrat policies, they believe that those individuals are going to be playing by the same rules. And guess what? They're not. They don't play by the same rules. And not only are they not coming in to educate themselves and be part of our system, a lot of them are coming in to create destruction. And like you said, Jennifer, it's, it's the story of what came first, the chicken or the egg. Well, we know all this lawlessness that we're seeing, the cartels that we're seeing, have to do with the border policies that Biden and Kamala enacted as soon as they came into office. We had, thank you. I love you, Jennifer. I love you.
I gotta be fair, okay? I'm managing like 10 different candidates, and I gotta keep it moving. Sorry, Michelle, I love you. All right, let's go.
We do have an audience question too, Jen, when we get through this one.
John, are you a candidate and you just are getting on stage, or are you just a regular person?
This is Tasha's
John.
husband.
Oh, hi, Tasha's husband. Sorry, John.
Oh, hi. How you doing? Yeah, I just had a question regarding voter fraud and ballot harvesting, and I just want to know, from your opinion, what is being done to prevent this, and what is in your opinion, is this a real concern? And the reason I asked this is because I was talking to Tom Patty several months ago regarding this, and he literally absolutely denied that this was going on. And lastly, if you do believe this is an issue, are you aware of anyone ever being arrested or prosecuted for this in California? Because I have not ever heard of anyone ever getting in any trouble for this. And I truly believe that Donald Trump lost because of this kind of, practice. What's your opinion on this?
Let's go to Peter. Go ahead. Oh, who's talking? Is someone trying to jump in?
No.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, so I actually seen it firsthand as a county supervisor. I was one of the supervisors that voted on the election, on the 2020 election. And the answer to the questioner is basically, it's been a slow erosion of the process. There's a lot of things that they do to overwhelm. They make ambiguous policies hard to understand, hard to define. You need an attorney to get involved. They convolute things with ultimately complicate the process, right? With the Voters' Choice Act, which actually took away precinct voting and all of a sudden distributed to where you can vote in any part of the county. So it's harder to vet who's voting, right? Even in COVID times, they basically changed the state laws when it came down to it under the guise of protecting the public from this virus. They made it easier for the mail-in ballot process, harder to vet. So bottom line is it's definitely happening, and the abuse of it. And the reality is to a certain extent, it's harder to measure, so it's hard to fight against. And so the only way that you could really combat is, one, get elected, and then two, is to start to basically amend not only the laws, but you also have to address to a certain extent, there needs to be, I think, constitutional amendments at the state level to not allow ambiguity to be part of the process, right? That would be a whole lot longer policy discussion, but there really needs to be transparency where the voter knows that their ballot actually counted.
Great, thank you for that, Peter. J-Rod, go ahead.
To the first question, for the cartels, I think we need to treat the cartels and the gangs in all of California as foreign enemies. A lot of the gangs in California report to the cartel. And so we need to not only use our federal partners in law enforcement, but I think we need to activate military resources, border patrol, and then really hammer down, because this is how all the organized crime goes through the state. So we need to bring the hammer down. In terms of voter fraud and ballot harvesting, again, we've lost the battle in California. We need to fight for it back. We have no accountability, and I have only have anecdotal evidence for fellow officers that have received 8 ballots in their name in the last election. And again, we're seeing this widespread mail-in ballots are really unaccountable to the vote and to the people. So we need to go back to paper ballots. I think Terry in Shasta County, he fought for paper ballots, and in their county, I think we could do that statewide and then make that and enshrine our voter rights back in the state.
Great question, John.
Thank you for that, Michael. Go ahead.
Okay, 2 things. One on the border. What's happened with the gangs is it's gone right into the schools. In Santa Rosa, we've had a student that was killed that was part of the gangs that were ran by the cartels. We've had knifings in the classroom, okay, because of these cartels. We do need to go ahead and treat them as a terrorist organization and do whatever we can to stop them. And on vote, integrity, it's one of the issues that we're having is with the universities. The mail-in ballots get sent to all these students that had an address last year where they were in school. They have now moved, graduated, not attending, but those ballots sit in the university post office. They don't send them back to the regular post office. And we're trying to get a handle on those ballots to make sure that they're handled appropriately so that they cannot be given to other people to use. But this is starting to be a bigger and bigger issue. And so it's really something that you have to look at. Now, Sonoma County did probably, what was it, 25-page report of voting integrity in Sonoma County. I haven't got through all of it, but they're really pushing it forward. What we have to do also is to make sure that we have the poll workers, make sure that we have the people there at the polls, at the voter registration officers. We need offices, so we need to go ahead and have people there observing what's happening. We need to take that on as candidates. We need to take that on as central committees. We need to take that on as individuals to make sure that we have that voter integrity.
Well, Michael, I'm in Florida, and one of the things that we've done, which is not a complete and total fix, right? It doesn't take us back to absentee ballots, but they basically wiped the slate clean, and you had to re-request to get a mail-in ballot. So that would help solve some of that problem, and a very simple, just across the board.
And Kim, we should make sure that no P.O. boxes or other temporary addresses like school addresses can be used, because no one lives there year round.
Students should be voting in the town where their parents are.
Correct.
Peter, jump in here.
So yeah, I just wanted to comment on the cartel issue because I really thought about this a lot. To the audience, when it comes down to the border, we can't just think of it as a migratory process, because the reality is it's a commercial district, right? It's allowed commerce, and technically speaking, this is twofold for me. And I would assume some people would disagree, but the reality is even to a certain extent, the fact that we don't have a strong definition of what it means to preserve life, right, as it pertains to all life, inside and outside of the womb, it's created an opportunity for the abuse of life. You can even say that when it comes to human trafficking, because that's actually allowed for slavery, basically state-sponsored slavery, to happen across the border. And you've heard about the 320,000 children that have crossed our border that no one knows where they're at. That's a real number, right? That's through the immigration process. But even outside of that, I mean, there needs to be obviously the elimination of the financial incentives for those that would abuse not only humans, ultimately abuse our ports of entry, right? So it's not even just the border itself at the south end with Arizona or Texas or California, but it's also having to do with the ports of entry across the globe. Across the world, across the country. When it comes to the way that a lot of these abuses are happening, fentanyl, obviously, even through ports of entry and stuff. So we need to tighten up obviously the immigration process, but we also need to tighten up what it means to preserve life at the same time.
Thank you for that, Peter. And, Paul, I think you made a really excellent point before that I just want to kind of highlight for a minute. You talked about using your campaign as a platform. Was that you, Paul, or am I totally giving credit to somebody else? I think it was Paul. But
I wish it were me, but it wasn't me. No.
Darn it. Michael, was it you? Or was
Yes,
it Mario?
yes, it was.
Oh, it was Michael. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry, Paul. Sorry, Michael. But no, you brought up an excellent point, right? Because wherever you guys go, right, you have an audience of people who want to hear from you because they want to hear what you're running on and why you should be in office. And we have a media and a mainstream media that refuses to report on the actual things happening in the news that is affecting the people in your district. Right? So you have the ability to stand up and separate yourself from people who only talk on talking points and start bringing up well-rounded thoughts about what is happening in our country, who's doing it, who's responsible, and that is on you to be brave and fearless, right? And I've heard a couple of you say that you're Christian, and if you truly believe that God led you to run for office at this time, right, in the course of history, where we are, then you have to run absolutely fearless and realize that you're doing this for a reason and ask God for his protection, but keep going and use your voice, because you have a bully pulpit right now and you have a bunch of people lying to the American people in order to steal their country. And I just couldn't encourage you guys enough to use that platform that you have. Michelle, jump in here.
Well, yeah, I am cheering you on 110%. Everything you said, I agree with 110%. You took the words right out of my mouth. And I'm just going to add this one thing. You're right. We do have the influence. And I was going to give you an example of Shannon Grove. So Shannon Grove just, brought up the bill SB 1414, but she didn't just do that. She collaborated with KCRA Channel 3 out of, her district, and they put together this documentary. And this is what we have to do. We have to be relational. We have to tell the story. We have to be able to paint the picture. And what she did is she did this documentary. It's called Escaping the Blade. And so if anybody thinks that, this is just the right-wing Republicans, trying to tell all these conspiracy theories again, we have to make it real for America. And so, we have a very important responsibility in that, and that's sharing this information. It's an amazing documentary that shows that there are children from the age of the average age in her district of people that were being child trafficked was 12. That's horrific. It keeps me up at night. So those are the things we need to be sharing. It's hard conversation to have. But like you said, Jen, we have these platforms. If we're not willing to stand up and talk about these things, who will?
Thanks for that, Michelle. Kim, go ahead.
So I just wanted to jump in and, remind everyone to please repost the space. Even though, we're probably not going to be going for too much longer. It is recorded, and this is a great resource. All of you guys, all you candidates, you can go back and clip this. You can clip sound bites, and you can use this as a resource. So not only when you get into office and you continue to do town halls on X with your constituents, you can use that as well. And really get your voice amplified. So I encourage all of you to make sure that you are using the tools that have been given to us because we're going to need them to win. And the other thing is, I just wanted to remind everyone that Jen is going to let off a little bit of spicy information about what's been going on with Diddy and the border and all that good stuff. Remember you said that, Jen?
Yeah, I'd really like to know why Diddy's bodyguard or Diddy's fixer owns 200 acres in San Diego County directly on the border. Like the border wall is on this property. So technically they could walk people up to the border, step 1 foot in Mexico and 1 foot onto private property. And also on this land, 200 acres right on the border, there is a some sort of Muslim camp that's happening on the border. I've done so much research, and that's why I was asking if anybody's running in San Diego County, because I'd love to talk to you, because I think this is a huge issue that no one's talking about, and I don't think a lot of people realize the implications of that. But I wasn't going to bring that up, Kim, but thanks, appreciate it. But I was going to bring up the network of NGOs in this country, in California, that are working, such as Catholic Charities. There's a whole spew of them, right? That isn't just about the border. They're doing it for gender affirming care and stuff like that, where they are using government dollars that they're taking in order, in many ways, to subvert our Constitution, to subvert parents, to subvert our country. And these NGOs are not being held accountable. And if you're familiar with law, you have a 501c3 and a 501c4, and those are very strict laws. And they're not being followed. And they're helping migrants come into this country, giving them money, making sure they get where they're going. What can we do at a state level to stop what some of these NGOs are doing?
Such a good question. Who wants to go first?
We can come back to it. I don't want to put anyone on the spot. Love y'all. Dr. Angela, jump in if no one else wants to go.
I just wanted to, the previous conversation, point out for those who are not aware that not only do we have child trafficking going on from the border, we actually have child trafficking going on in our public school classrooms, including special needs kids that are being targeted. Yes, with the whole transgender issue, but even beyond that, the trafficking issue, I have a friend, dear friend in Sonoma County, with which one of you represents. And years ago, her daughter was trafficked as a freshman in college as part of the resource special program at the university. So she was taking classes, and it was actually one of the resource assistants who was trafficking the kids. Go figure.
There's some Diddy stuff in that too.
All right, let's go to Sonia. Jump in here.
Dr. Angela, yeah, you bring up some huge things and huge issues. Again, as a mom of, autistic twin boys, I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but studies show that they're the most vulnerable when it comes to grooming in the transgender community. And that's just sad. They're being used. They're literally being used to test these things. So what we really, I think, need to focus on is all of these issues are such important issues. And where we are sitting here trying to flip these seats, we need to focus on how we're going to communicate across party lines. And I keep saying it, and I'll keep saying it tonight, to get moderate Democrats that are thinking, that are on the fence, that are saying the leaders have shifted. I've been in the middle all this time, but not me, I'm Democrat. It's the leaders that have shifted far left. We need to get these open-minded Democrats able to listen to what we have to say in a way that they're going to be receptive to it. I mean, we need to really focus on issues and how it's impacting them. If they have special needs kids, if if they're a veteran, etc. And the only way we're going to affect any change whatsoever is if we flip these seats. Even right now, if we flip a few seats, we're not going from 78% down to 54%. It's going to take, several more election cycles. So what I can say is this is a great group. And I encourage all of you to just educate. Look, if they're Republican, they got our votes. They've got our votes. We're not going to impact change unless we shift others that are on the fence and voting differently to vote differently now and going forward. And what's better than your kids, talking about your kids? And that's what I've been doing day in and day out. When I meet with people and I say, do you have any kids in the public school system? Yeah. Are you aware of this? No. Do you want to know about it? And that's how I'm getting them to switch how they think. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you for this forum and having me on it.
2 resources for you guys. One is Courage is a Habit. I think we've talked about this before in some of our previous spaces, but I wanted to bring it up to our new panelists. So that is courageisahabit.org. And they have all kinds of material to help explain some of this stuff that is going on in the schools, because people look at you like you've got 3 heads sometimes when you're having to talk about these issues. I can't believe we're having to talk about some of these things. I think somebody said that earlier. The other resource I would suggest is Walk Away Brandon Straka has done some awesome videos about moderate Democrats and the issues that, the debunking of Donald Trump. And he goes through like line by line, and it is great content that, again, you can use, you can clip, you can use sound bites from. So I encourage you to use that as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Kim. All right, let's go to, Tasha, did you want to go real quick?
I'll let Katherine go. I'll go after Katherine. Thank you.
Welcome.
I'll be quick. This just reminds me of what I had said earlier about my opponent. I'll mention his name, DeSaulnier, that he voted that it was okay for biological males to be in women's sports. So that means it's okay for men to come into our daughters' and granddaughters' shower rooms, toilet area, where they can watch them dress and undress. And I just think all of this just fits into that mold of grooming and predators. And these are things that my intent is to get that message out to as many people as I can, so they know exactly what Mr. DeSaulnier has been up to, because he will not post it on his website.
Thank you for that, Katherine. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Angela.
No, I was just trying to say they're trying to make space for maps minor attracted persons to flip them into the LGBTQ plus minus, you know, they're trying to get them in there, and they're trying to clear the slate for it.
All right, I have to get Tracy up on stage. So Tasha, do you want to go real quick, and then I'll bring her up as soon as you go.
Sure, I'll drop down right after that. I just wanted to say that as a 32-year-old veteran public school teacher, that I hear a lot of the time, and this is for the candidates, there are a lot of people like me who are ultra conservative. Well, I'm conservative, and I'm like a classical liberal, but I'm very conservative. But I believe that people have the right to make their independent choices about certain things. There are a lot of us in the public school system, a lot of teachers that feel the way that I do, that do not stand with our union. And I am actually my union rep. And I chose to be that because there are a lot of teachers who feel the way that I do, that are very strong in our own conservative values. And we feel like our union doesn't represent us, doesn't hear us. All these laws, AB 1955 and whatnot, like you were saying, many of the candidates were saying, we don't even know about these laws. The teachers don't know about these laws. We don't even know a lot of the time that we are not allowed to speak to parents about these issues. It's not communicated to us clearly. And so now that I'm involved in all this, I'm learning all this from being on Denise Aguilar's campaign. I am educating the teachers, but as I'm saying, there is a market to public school teachers. Wasn't vaccinated. I stood against that as well. I was like, you know, there are a lot of us there that are not the liberal, stereotypical teachers. So as candidates, I wouldn't say shy away from teachers. It's our union that doesn't represent us, and just keep that in mind.
Guys, Tasha is a true hero. She is the one who has been organizing all of these spaces and getting so many of these wonderful candidates up in these spaces. So make sure you're following Tasha. Thank you so much. And we do need to remember, we do have teachers in there that are common sense, and they have been fighting on the front lines with our kids, and they haven't had our support because we didn't know what was happening. So I think that she brings up such a valid point. We've got to remember that we do have teachers in there. We can't dismiss whole swaths of people.
100%. Tracy just joined us. Tracy, I just want to give you a minute to introduce yourself, what you're running for. Just make it quick, and then I'll go to the next two hands, and then I have a question. So go ahead, Tracy. Tracy, are you there?
Oh, you have to unmute your mic. It's the bottom right or left-hand corner.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for including me in this exciting opportunity to meet like-minded people who are standing to save our country. And what a perfect segue to hear Tasha's voice. I can't wait to meet you, Tasha. My name is Tracy Schroeder. I am on the ballot in Los Angeles in the West San Fernando Valley for State Assembly. For the reasons that Tasha just mentioned, I am a California educator for medical freedom. I stood against our shot mandate. I lost my position for 15 months, standing for freedom along with hundreds of others. And I am a named plaintiff in a lawsuit against the LA school district. We are fighting here for the kids. We are fighting for our freedoms. And that is why, yes, I ran for school board in 22, and I ran against the union in 23. And we are waking up our colleagues. I've been a teacher since 98. And I did fly up to Sacramento in June when school got out to speak against Assembly Bill 1955, because they're telling teachers that parents are not a part of the equation, and that's absolutely wrong. In this conversation tonight, there were important discussions that came up about homeschooling and about school choice and about making our schools better. And all of that is so important. And how do you do that without parents? And so as a teacher, I just want to say, we've got to flip all of these seats. We need common sense back. We need to stop the chemtrails. There's so many great topics that have come up. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for including me. And I'm cheering everybody on in this meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Tracy. Appreciate you being here. Let's go to J-Rod, then Michael. Just remember, minute and a half. And when you hear the bell, wrap it up.
Okay, thank you. So part of the issue, I think, with this happening in our schools, with children being sexualized, and we need to go back to core subjects. We have failing test scores in the entire state of California. And so we need to go back to core subjects and eliminate liability from teachers. Go back to parental notification of subjects that are going to be taught outside of that realm, like sex ed, and getting permission from the guardians or parents or whoever is overseeing that child. So we need to go back to that type of system. The other issue is the topics that are being taught. We need to make sure that teachers cannot speak about ideology or politics. As an officer, I'm not allowed to do that. I'm supposed to take the middle ground. And if I do that in uniform, I get in trouble. I can be suspended, and teachers should be held accountable into that standard as well, because they are teaching fundamentals to students. Thank you.
Thanks, J-Rod. Appreciate you. Michael, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I understand about what's happening in the schools. I am an autism specialist and taught the 18 to 22-year-old age groups. So I know exactly what everybody is talking about when you're talking about the human trafficking in schools, because we are seeing it. I also want to bring up the fact that the California Teachers Association has a Republican caucus. I've been part of that Republican caucus for years, and we are increasing our membership all the time. CTA pays for us to even go to the conventions. I'd ask the candidates to talk to your Republican teachers in the Republican caucus. They can help you. They can help you get those teachers out, because there's a lot of them out there that believe the same way with it. And Tracy knows about. Tracy and I met in Sacramento at the AB 1955. And so I think what we need to do, again, we can talk and say these things that we agree on, but until we get it to the people and use it as part of our platform, it's not going to do any good. We need to do that. We need to talk about the schools. There are problems with the schools. Education is my #1 platform. And it's making inroads with a lot of different people. We need to talk about those, be open about it, be forceful about it. And once you do that, you're going to start seeing even more people, more parents come out, more families. And I'm concentrating on the Latino vote because they have the same values. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate you. Tracy, did you want to jump in real quick on that? I saw you on mute. If not, I'll move on.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Yes, all of this is just so important. And I just love that we're all teaming up and coming together to speak truth. And that's absolutely right. And we can all, let's make a plan after this. Thank you.
Jen, before you move on to the next topic, I just wanted to reiterate with the Courage is a Habit, Alvin and Jennifer McWilliams, they will come to you if you have like crazy SEL going on in your school, or there's, this trans stuff going on. They will come in and they will give lectures. They will, provide information. They will battle with you. So I really encourage you to use that resource.
Thanks, Kim. Appreciate you. So a topic that's really, really important to me is the First Amendment and how the government is actually taking away our First Amendment rights and our rights to assemble, and especially surrounding J6 and the POWs, or I don't know, prisoners of war, I'd call them, that are sitting in the gulag in DC that are in abhorrent conditions. And then we saw, offices of the government using their government dime on government time to censor Americans and actually organize through the bureaucracies to keep President Trump out of office. So first of all, What do you think of President Trump, and what do you think of the First Amendment? Mario, jump in here.
First off, we need President Trump to get everything back in order. Period. Amen. So Trump needs to be there. As far as the First Amendment, I mean, the right to protest, peacefully protest and grievance your government is not a violation. It's not we're questioning our government, and that's something that's fundamental in our society. And the fact that the way they're treating J6 is horrible, and that's something that, we need to get out and let everybody know that was peaceful. When you go back to Black Lives Matter, that's not peaceful when things are burning down. And just because somebody says mostly peaceful doesn't mean it is.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Okay, let's go to Michelle. Jump in here.
All right. First, with regard to President Trump, anointed. The man is anointed. Yesterday, the John Birch Society gave me a coin, and it was a silver coin with President Trump and the iconic image of him shouting "fight." And I just want to take a little bit of time to talk about this, because I think as leaders, this is really important to emphasize. That moment brought me to tears. When he said, "Where are my shoes?" That was not vanity. That was a man who understood his role, his position, right? He understood that he is not just a man, he is the president of the free world of the United States of America. And so when he said, "Where are my shoes?" that was the dignity of the job. And then when his life was on the line, anybody else would have cowered. He stood up and he yelled to Americans, "Fight, fight, fight." To me, that is like, it just breaks me down in tears, because I fully, I'm just so grateful for the man and what he's willing to do to save America. And on the other side, with regards to January 6th, we have to remember that all of this is very intentional. A great leader understands when they're being put under the test. And that's what's happening here. They are testing America. We saw it in COVID, right? We saw it with J6. They want to know if America cares. And what happens is they always push us into a corner, slap us around a little bit, so we'll be quiet about it. And then they win. They see that we are in America that is not willing to stand up and fight for what is good and righteous. And like you said, the First Amendment is our God-given right. We have the freedom of speech. And that's all that transpired on that day. And so for those individuals to take it from a place of fear and turn it around, and what we see are good Americans being locked up and treated like really animals, it's un-American. And so what we are seeing here is that we are going through a test. We are being asked, will we stand up? And unfortunately, most of Americans are going, what do you want me to follow? What do you want me to like? What do you want me to tick? And so we need to be in the streets. This is where we have that opportunity to rouse up our constituents. So thank you, Jen. But yeah, right? Amen.
Thank you for that, Michelle. Really, really appreciate you. Kim, you got something fast, or I'm going to keep going through hands?
I'm going to change the subject because I have a question, but let's go ahead and, finish out this topic.
Okay, J-Rod, go ahead.
I fully support our president, President Trump. He is a warrior. He stands against this institutionalized corruption in government that we have allowed to become pervasive. And so I stand with him. In terms of the First Amendment, we need to hold all unelected bureaucrats and politicians civilly liable, criminally liable for stopping our speech, especially these technocrats like Mark Zuckerberg. They need to be held accountable. So I stand firmly with the First Amendment. As a police officer, I know that that's one of my duties to protect the Constitution, and that being our first, being the most important. So God bless President Trump, and thank you. Tasha, I am willing to be on every forum that you guys have.
Awesome. Thank you for that, J-Rod. Tracy, I saw you on mute. Would you like to jump in? And if you don't know how to raise your hand, Tracy, it's just the heart with the plus, and then you go to the right, and there's a little hand. So go ahead, Tracy.
Thank you. Great. I just want to second what was just said and further add, speaking of, courageously speaking truth, a lot of people who've just been quietly walking along don't realize how censored we've been. As a person who's spoken out and been shut off of platforms, including my first Instagram, closed, others closed, microphones shut off. Even my microphone was shut off when I gave public comment in the state assembly. But the big shocker, and many people who were at least following Bill Asalee realize our representatives' voices have been shut off. They literally turned off his microphone in Sacramento. And when you shut off a representative's microphone and you don't allow debate, something's very wrong in that country, in that state. The teachers union certainly has shut off my microphone countless times. We've had it. And that is why it is so important for people to bravely show up, to bravely speak truth, bring a friend with you. And all of us, we need to join hands and yes, flip these seats. They're doing it obviously to President Trump, and we need to actually, he's taking the hit literally on all of our behalf. But if we stand and just take it, if we just watch passively, we lose our country. But this is it. This is where we take the stand. And I believe, honestly, it starts with prayer. And that's where each person can start privately in prayer and then join others. And then we multiply. And this is our moment to stand, having done everything to stand in truth. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Tracy. Okay, let's go to Peter. Oh, wait, yeah. Or Michael, I don't know. I'm getting tired, guys. Sorry. Go ahead, Peter.
No problem. Yeah, so along the lines of, the First Amendment, actually, I should start with the J6 element. The whole sentiment, the intent was, and actually my opponent is on the January 6th committee or was on the sham one. We need to bring it back to ultimately vet that process. But at the end of the day, their goal was to silence speech, right? Technically speech, if you think about it, as far as the founders are concerned, they were intent on the right of conscience to be applied to the process, where someone's conscience dictates ultimately what they believe and how they live it out. Obviously, that's why, again, without being too much of a Bible thumper, the reality is there's 10 Commandments laws. There's actually the application through the judicial system of you don't have a right to lie, to cheat, to steal. Those things are already applicable. As long as those things are actually a part of our process, then free speech in and of itself should be protected. Hate speech laws was, I would argue, the start of this conversation to slowly erode people's individual rights. Now all of a sudden you have hate speech laws, and now all of a sudden you technically are starting to redefine what speech or correct speech is, right? And the reality is all we're doing is dumbing down a nation by now not allowing them to debate and dialogue the issues. How do you process what you can't say, articulate, and ultimately have a dialogue format? That's how I've learned. I know that. That's the old catechism format. But when it comes down to the January 6th individuals, it shouldn't be that hard. There were certain people that broke laws. There was already laws on the books that don't allow for people to break things. But outside of that, they've extended the interpretation. That's why I firmly believe there needs to be almost like a reconciliation element, which requires accountability for those that have used the First Amendment right of speech. And I would argue at the top of that ticket is Liz Cheney and what's his name? Adam Kinzinger, all these weak Republicans that have watered down what it means to protect freedom of speech.
Thank you for that, Peter. Michael, go ahead.
Okay. I think it's what J-Rod said, and that is basically we need to hold people accountable. We have stopped doing that, and it's something that's, especially with the January things that went on, hold them accountable for what they didn't do or what they did do. Putting people, in jail that were just, using their First Amendment rights is completely wrong. So those people that are doing that need to be held accountable. And as far as President Trump, my son is actually on the transition team for President Trump. He was chief of staff for Ambassador Lighthizer, national trade representative. And so we know that the Trump administration is starting to work right now to put things together. We need to go ahead and make sure that we get that out. And as people ask us I have it all the time. Are you a Trumper? I said, it's real simple. I support his policies. I support him because I know what it's going to be like. And too many people are hiding from that and are afraid to do that. And I think we need to go ahead and stand up. Yeah, this is what I believe. And I'm going to be that way. And this is who I am. This is what I do. If you want to vote for me, super. If you don't want change, stay where you are. But this is what I believe for a good reason. And yes, I support Trump that way. And I'm looking forward to an administration when he gets elected to really change the United States and the way things are done, especially in the First Amendment rights that we have.
Take it down to the studs. Take it down to the studs.
Yep.
All right, Kim, you want to jump in with a question? Then we'll go to Dr. Angela.
Yes. So, well, this question is, it's something that they use as a crutch. And I want to know how prepared our candidates are to discuss the horrible topic of abortion. Anybody want to touch that? Go for it, Michael.
Yeah. Oh,
sorry.
Okay, it's real simple. That's the first question I was asked during the primary and my first debate. I'm sure it's going to be the first question asked tomorrow night when I meet with my opponent. And it's really simple. I am LDS, and so I just use that doctrine that I do not believe in abortion for personal or society convenience. And I leave it at that. And if they want to go further, then I'll go deeper into it, how the abortion issue is really a racist issue, since over 67% of all abortions are on people of color. And by telling them it's a racist issue, they kind of just be quiet. They don't like to be called racist.
Beautiful answer. Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, well, I agree with him 110%. I believe in life from conception to natural death. And I don't have a problem having that conversation with anyone. But I also want to touch on something he said, and this isn't about life, but I just want to put this out there because there is something happening in the Black community that no one is talking about. And that is the fact that we see a smoke and mirrors game going on right now. The African community, just like every community, every race, is very talented. But what we see is that, we see them in entertainment, we see them in movies, we see them in media, we see them as athletes, so we think that everything's going fine. But if you look back to I think it's the 1950s or maybe the 1970s, I'm not sure. But when we looked at the birth rate for the African-American community, right, the birth rate was a sturdy 7.1%. Fast forward to today, the birth rate at 1.2 becomes very critical because you are now at the point of extinction. And not that there will, African-Americans will never be around. We have entire countries that are, Black. But in America, it becomes insignificant if the birth rate of Black Americans goes below 1.2%. Do you know where we're at today? We're at 1.7. That is a critical number that people have to start paying attention to. And there are amazing pastors and speakers out there talking about this in the conservative movement. And I just want our leaders here to know about that, because as we talk about life, it is intentional that the abortion is happening the way it is, at the rate that it's happening, the money and everything that's funneled into this, and we have to be willing to stand up and have this conversation.
Well, I've got some really great resources, and you're so right. I mean, the Black population in this country has not really grown because of the abortion issue. And so it's targeted, it is racist, and we definitely need to stand firm on this nonsense about, you're taking away your reproductive freedoms. Nope, that's not what it's about. And there's some really great footage. I've got 3 different videos that can help. They're very impactful, and they explain just exactly what's going on and the crimes that are being committed that are just beyond human. I mean, it's just horrible. All right, let's go J-Rod, and then we'll go to Peter, and then Paul, and then we'll go to Dr. Angela, because I'm sure she wants to ask another question.
Okay, thank you. I'm 100% pro-life. I was born at 24 weeks. My wife was adopted, so was a sister. I think that any baby that is conceived needs to be born, and we need to do our best to fight for that, to educate the public again. And this is a racial topic. We are eliminating the Black race because the majority of abortions performed are killing our Black brothers and sisters. So I am against abortion.
This is so just heartwarming to hear so many stand on these principles. I mean, I really do. I'm very encouraged by that. And Chris, I'm so sorry I skipped over you. So we'll go to you after we go to Paul. Peter and then Paul.
Peter, then Paul. Okay.
I was going to say, we got the whole Bible up in here. We got
That
Peter,
that was
Paul,
biblical.
Yes. Amen.
Praise God. Yeah, the issue life, I think, is profound, but I think we need to really think about how it's being framed, because the reality is the way that it's being argued, and you see the talking points from the liberal left, the media, where they basically are arguing that Roe versus Wade eliminates abortion. But the reality is all it does, it actually takes that right away from the federal government and hands it back to the states and ultimately the people, where that conversation should be happening. I think part of the fear of the left is because now the people are really going to think about the consequences of that decision. So I think we shouldn't let up. We should be very forceful to make sure that we actually articulate and argue, because I think that's how we're going to learn to engage the issue with an honest intention and obviously trying to consider both sides. But more importantly, I mean, the Declaration of Independence actually defines the right to life, liberty, and happiness, not the right to death. And the reality is you've seen that through the age spectrum, where it's from conception all the way up to the age. Those that relativize life will relativize all of life. And you're seeing that through different policies. You can't isolate it to just, when it comes down to having a child. You're seeing it through euthanasia policies. You're seeing it to the relativizing of gender. All these things are basically, I would say, and my last thought is what you're seeing with what's happening just like at the southern border, you can argue is also happening through the abortion mills, with Planned Parenthood, because there was actually someone that Kamala Harris just jailed, an individual in our state, because he revealed that baby parts are being sold. This is not hyperbole. This is not emotion. This is truth. People should look it up.
I have footage that I will make available to all of you guys of.
Kim must have gotten a phone call. Michael, I think you had your hand up, and then Mario, and then we'll
no, I just didn't take it down.
Oh, okay. Wait, you did take it down, or I'm so confused right now. Do you want to speak, Michael?
No, I already have.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. So I'll go to the last couple hands on this topic, then we'll go to Chris and let him ask a question. But I do want to pose a question to you guys, just to think about, because I'm going to ask it at the end. I did hear a bunch of you guys bring up path to citizenship. So I just want to know what that means to you and what that would look like as regards to the people who that would affect. So
Paul was next on the last issue. He wanted to finish that before you pose the next one.
Oh no, yep. Go ahead, Paul. And Mario.
Mine is real quick, real easy, because everyone has said everything that I could possibly say. I am pro-life, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Paul. Mario, jump in here, then we'll go to Tracy.
So as the father of a 27-week-old who the mother was jeopardizing my wife's life, both of them were my son was birthed and my wife is fine. So I am pro-life, and there is always an option for life. Even with technology today, you could always save the baby, and I am adamant about pro-life. As Paul mentioned, everybody said everything great, and I'll leave it at that.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Tracy, jump in here quick.
I just wanted to add on another note of just being able to speak to our neighbors who might have a different perspective, right? our laws in California are so radical that at this point, it is technically legal even to dismember a baby after it is born. And so starting with those truths, I think that's a way to roll back the tide that is blinding a lot of people. And so I think just having common sense, let's talk about the real issues and let's reveal the truth about the laws that are in place. And I think that's another way to de-radicalize our state. Thank you. And I do stand for life, and I do stand for caring for our neighbors as ourselves.
Thanks for that, Tracy.
I got sucked into a vortex. I think I was over the target. I think it's Chris's turn. Mr. Philby.
Good. I didn't hear Jen. I'm sorry. I got a quick comment and then my question. The comment is, I'm Chris Philby from American Mission. I'm in Virginia, which is a long way away from California, but I want to give you all some hope because our governor Youngkin, flipped our state, his office anyway, and the top four to red because of the issue of education. And his opponent came out and said that parents had no business being involved in the education of their children. And on that one issue, everything turned and he won the election. So have faith. It can happen. California is not lost. And I truly believe that the days of Ronald Reagan will return. And on that note, I saw a video of a woman who was living in a tent in the city of Los Angeles. It was something of a tent city. And she was on her computer. And she was using her cell phone as a hotspot. And she was searching for jobs in Texas because she wanted to be able to afford an apartment for her family and be able to make her car payment. And the people in the tent behind her were doing the same thing. The sad thing about this, I mean, it's not unusual to see people living in tents in this country. There's Tent City across the street from the White House. But the sad thing about this woman was an employee of the city of Los Angeles. So my question for you all is if you're elected, what policies are you interested in pushing to try to get affordable housing in place for the citizens of California? Because I think that knowing people that live there, when the cost of a 2-bedroom apartment it is a minimum of $2,000. It's pretty tough to get by even on a modest salary if you got a couple of kids. So that's my question. I appreciate you all coming here tonight and participating in this forum, and look forward to all of you getting elected.
Thanks for that, Chris. All right, let's start with Sonia. Go ahead.
So my short answer is, in order to build affordable housing, you have to make building affordable housing affordable. And so the builders want to build, but our regulations, our CEQA, all these things make it unaffordable. The permitting process make it a nightmare. And so by the time they get land and get it entitled and worry about all the little creatures that they're going to disturb, how do you make it affordable? So that's the first thing. And I think that we do need to be more open-minded about mixed housing and how the different communities, their own cultures, so to speak, connect with different type of housing, right? Because it's not a one shop fits all. I think that it's important to keep characters of these cities and towns and incorporate this mixed housing. And that's where I completely do not agree with Wiener's taking it to the state and penalizing the cities, because I still believe that the cities, that's why you have a city council and the people within the cities that know their cities best and can best decide how to do this. But again, the very first piece of it is to make it affordable to build. That's the problem.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Let's go to Michelle.
Okay, so I have very quickly learned to hate the word affordable housing. And I'll tell you why. Because it's code for development. It's code for condos. And it's, again, going back to the idea of eroding the American dream. These are individuals that are in bed with developers, right? They want to bring in more affordable housing, but we end up with condos like in Pasadena that end up renting for a 2-bedroom condo, $3,000 to $4,000 a month. That's not affordable housing. And not only that, but we are just eroding at communities, right? What happened to Saturdays when Pop goes outside and mows the lawn and the kids are running in the yard and, drinking water from the hoses? Those days are over. We used to get on our bikes. I was born and raised in Pasadena. It has never been a small town, but it felt like home. And the reason for that is because me and my cousins, we could jump on our bikes and ride all the way down Colorado Boulevard from my grandmother's house to my aunt's house to my house. And we would just play around and we just knew, okay, when the lights go up, we got to hurry home. And you could never do that. I could never let an 8, 10, 12-year-old or at any age really play on the streets of Pasadena anymore. There's literally boulevards that used to be beautiful that are now empty buildings with several homeless groups in front of them. And these encampments go on and on. But the situation has to go back to leadership. When we talk about how we can really create affordable housing, we're talking about how do we fix our budget deficit, right? How do we make housing affordable again? And that means putting people in homes where they're part of a community, where they own something and they love it, right? This is how we keep our community safe. This is how we create a generation of people that care for their communities because they want to be safe. And they're not just, coming down a high rise and stepping over their neighbors on the street, which is what we are trying to teach this next generation. So I really hope we get back to asking ourselves, not creating affordable housing, but really how do we get rid of those deficit, right? And get back to reality, because our housing market is out of control in California and we need to get it back to where new generations can buy homes where their parents lived. Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate you. All right, let's go to Tracy.
Thank you so much. I would like to add to what Michelle said, because a part of what's going on is our properties are actually being sold to non-American nations. And so we Americans will no longer even own the properties here. And part of the sneaking in of that, in my opinion, well, I've seen it, is within the teachers union, within schools, including even Catholic schools, and the Los Angeles School Board. They are promoting providing housing to teachers. What in the world? When I was a new teacher, you get a roommate, you get multiple roommates. Some families share a residence until they can save up money. When I've applied and worked in an area that was not affordable to me, I commuted. Those are the things that people do. But just this, like Michelle was saying, the affordable housing sham really just makes it harder on all of us to survive where we are. But you can build out or you share space. But by selling it off and so that nobody can afford it, like Michelle was saying, that ruins the ability for Americans to live in America. So let's stay at home, people. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Let's go to J-Rod.
Thank you. So a lot of the issues that we're having, like Tracy said, and some of the other candidates like Sonia, we need to cut the red tape when they empower our constituents to be allowed to get through the process faster, to get the building inspectors out to the properties faster, and see there's a mechanism of doing that. Also, we need to open up state-owned land as best as possible to allow for building there, so we can free up some more land to build on. Anyways, that's my answer.
Thank you, J-Rod. Appreciate it. Let's go to Michael. Go ahead.
Okay, I think one of the biggest things, I just heard a report today from the realtors that 30% of the cost of building a new house is regulation. And that alone, and some of the regulations that are being put in place, is what's causing the rates to go up so high. In my district, we have everything from very expensive, in Santa Rosa to $800,000, cost to get into a house, up along the coast of, Sea Ranch, Mendocino, it's cost millions of dollars to get a place. And these costs keep going up, part because of CEQA, because of all the regulations. They've outlawed in Santa Rosa gas stoves in new homes. Their regulators just came out and said if your air conditioning or your heater goes out, you have to replace it with a new heat pump. So they're changing all these rules and all these regulations, and that's a big part of it. With it. And to me, the main thing that I could do as representative is to get rid of some of these regulations. Let the people build. And also, the other big cost of it is the fact that we're giving them money for the homes to nonprofit organizations, which have basically become a money laundering scheme. We just had a homeless area for affordable homes. They just checked it out. They gave them like $25 million to build these homes for the homeless and everything else. And then they just did an audit finally and found out, oh, well, we don't know where all this money went to. Well, the people that were running it went down to Texas, down to Houston, started doing the same thing. Well, in Houston, they fired the people because they started doing the same thing there, and now they're being investigated up here with it. So we have to take a look at the homeless and hold the people that are getting the money from these nonprofit organizations, hold them responsible to do what they're supposed to be doing. That will lower that cost. And of course, everything else, the main factor to me is the cost of energy. We need to go ahead and reduce the cost of energy, and it will reduce the cost of a new home.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Michael. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, I've learned as a county supervisor that a lot of these are buzzwords. I mean, ultimately, low-income housing is a moderate or moderation term, right? They just want to pigeonhole you into this conversation, kind of becomes circular. I mean, it really has like almost this unrealized solution. I mean, one of the things that they actually require for every county is for us to adopt a RENA standard, which is the Regional Housing Needs Assessment. You're assessing your community and basically agreeing to a certain level of low-income housing to support your community, supposedly, but there's no legal requirement. Outside of that, it really is more of a shell game, because at that point, as long as the developer commits to allowing or to doing a certain amount of low-income housing, they're not required to do it. Then you can basically make the excuse that development should go forward. All this is government controlled. All these laws, and actually, without repeating what was said, because it's true,
VMT laws, miles traveled, CEQA laws, requirements for solar on your house. All these things are government mandated, which increases, like was mentioned, the cost of the house. Really, the issue is quality of life protections. I mean, and local control. Local government should have the authority over their general plan, where they're the buck stops there, and it's obviously stakeholder driven, which means it's accountability driven, where the elected are responsive to the public, to those that elected them, to make sure that they're growing according to the demands of the public. If they don't want to grow at all, then they shouldn't have to, right? So they're the ones setting the standard, and if there's needs for income, then they can figure out what that means. But they even have policies that relate to revenue neutral laws, right? So you can't even increase your revenue, which means you're supposedly not for profit. Anyways, without repeating the wheel, it's all a shell game. It's all about control. It minimizes your authority and it maximizes their ability to stop, to basically to control you and to stop you when they want to. And technically speaking, my last point is, if they really cared about home ownership, like they're mentioning for illegals, then they would allow those folks that actually own homes to not have to owe property taxes after they pay off their home. But it's till death, because they just want a constant funnel stream for funding. And yeah, that's why we need to have stronger local control laws and obviously stronger protections for quality of life standards and vetted by that very community.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Oh, go ahead, Kim.
I was going to say, well, let's go to Sonia, and then I know Dr. Angela's had her hand up. She's probably like almost lost her circulation.
Good thing I'm quick. Just to your point, we do need to bring back control to the local municipalities, because at the state level, it just means more and more red tape. And that's really my point. And just for a quick statistic, this is as of 2019, California is not almost a million units short on housing. Even if we continue building, there's just no way we're going to get to those numbers anywhere in the near future. And what the local cities are doing now is they're actually changing the zoning to allow for more building. And then to Michelle's point, I mean, look, I grew up in San Francisco. I didn't grow up, with a nice yard, and I grew up with, concrete around me, and it is what it is. But not everybody wants to live in suburbia. People do want to mix, ways that they want to live. As people age, they want to downsize. Maybe they want to lock and leave because they want to travel. I've been in the real estate industry for over 30 years. And so I've seen various reasons for, they may want a mixed commercial. And I believe that that's one of the ways, density is going to be some of the ways that we could infill areas and make that housing along with commuting and things like that. We just have to find the right balance of it. And we do have a long way to get there.
Well, I would say though, growing up in the city of San Francisco as your backyard is pretty spectacular.
It was, not anymore.
It used to be, right? It used to be.
Yeah, it's such a great city. I mean, we'll get it back. We're gonna get it back, people.
Until Paul Pelosi said, "Don't stop hammer time."
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I did that. I'm sorry.
And guys, after Dr. Angela goes, we're going to start winding it down here. I know, Jen, we're on the East Coast here, so we're getting a little bit tired. But we do want to thank everybody for coming, and we'll give final thoughts after we get done with Dr. Angela's question.
That's one of the things I was going to say, guys. I don't know if you realize it while we're all sitting out here, tired because it's evening in California. These ladies, Jen and Kimberly, they're both on the East Coast. So they are rock stars, holding this space open, keeping their eyes propped open so they can listen and give you guys a chance to share all your thoughts. And I am so excited from everybody we've been listening to tonight. And I had kind of a, radical question to throw out there. You can answer it with a yes or no. Maybe short explanation, but is there any circumstance by which you would ever support any county, city, or territory of California becoming acceptable to Sharia law?
Wow.
Absolutely not.
No.
If you say yes, I'm booting you off the stage. I'm just saying that.
Jen has an eject button.
The rule of law would be dead if that happened. It would no
Yeah.
longer apply.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Well, and I hope you guys know why I'm asking this, because there are places in Minnesota and others where they have proposed it. So we're not far from it.
Dr. Angel, there's companies in the state of California that are Sharia compliant already. And it's not just California, it's the entire country, actually.
But to me, it's not consistent with our Constitution and rights for everyone.
Oh, it's absolutely not consistent with the Constitution, right? It's actually completely opposite of the Constitution. And it's just like really eye-opening to see liberals like even entertain that or go out and say that they want to, protest on behalf of Palestine. And it's like, do you realize like they don't have the same set of values and the way you look at the world? And what they are trying to propose, or if you go out and you say you're gay in the middle of, I don't know, Iran, Iraq, or something like that, like you will be killed for that, right? And that is being brought into our country, and that's not okay.
You've got hands, Jen.
Everybody wants to answer your question.
Let's go.
Go ahead, Sonia, and then we'll go to.
Like I said, my brain is not working.
So
Sorry,
we'll go
guys.
to Sonia, Tracy, J-Rod, and then Peter.
So Sharia law is, that's dangerous because it's in direct conflict with our Constitution, starting with the First Amendment. And so enough is enough. We're here in America, here in California, with a set of rules and laws so that we can all get along. And then we're saying, everybody come here and your laws take priority over our Constitution. Enough is enough. Where are we going to go with this? It's dangerous. We are no longer the country that left England for freedom. We're giving all those rights away. And so I'll just say again, it's so crucial that we get out there. We are voices right now as candidates to get people to understand why they should vote differently. And again, all of us could be elected, but until we get that supermajority number down, we aren't changing anything, because we can come up with these, amendments to the Constitution. We can come up with, introduce laws. We can amend the laws. And unless they pass, it's not going anywhere. You've got 78% of the votes. They're all up for re-election. But how are we going to get lower than that? Our first job is to get into the state assembly. That's the number one. And then we can go from there.
Well, hopefully some of them are going to get arrested. So we won't have to worry. We can replace them.
There's that. Did it.
That's huge. And I think that's going to open up more eyes here as to what's going on with all this human trafficking in front of our own eyes. I mean, it just needs to get, the media isn't talking, but now, now they are. And I think more and more that comes out will, help change. It's all about our votes. We're literally a vote away from either getting better or getting worse. And that's dangerous.
All right. Thanks for that, Sonia. Tracy and J-Rod, you guys can go. And then I want to give everybody like a 1 minute closing statement. So if you'd like to think about that, why these two go. Okay, Tracy, go ahead. And then J-Rod.
Thank you. On the note of any law other than what is protected by our God-given freedoms and rights, protected by the Constitution of the United States. And in California, there is a California Constitution. And what we need to do is, as was already said, stick to it, first of all. But what's lacking, and why some of these Marxist regimes and these things that are sneaking in as angels of light that are so really just it's trickery, it's robbing people, is our lack of knowledge. I recommend anybody to join the Patriot Academy and get educated, to read the Constitution, to read our California Constitution, and to encourage others to join, because it is by not knowing, not having the education, that's the problem. And that's really what's wrong majorly with our own state education system. Everyone should know their rights. Today, along with a group of 20-something 4-year-olds, we already are starting to quote the Bill of Rights. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, is as far as we've gotten in this school year. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. All right, go ahead, J-Rod.
Any form of Sharia law is unconstitutional and absolutely would not be supported by me, especially as a law enforcement officer. It undermines the very principles that we uphold and defend.
Thanks, J-Rod. Appreciate you. Michelle, did you want to comment on this, or do you have your hand up for the final closing remark?
Just a final closing remark.
Okay, perfect. So I'll give everybody a minute, just and make sure to tell people where they can find you and where they can donate to you in your closing statement. So Michelle, go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, first of all, Jen and Kimberly. I really appreciate you guys, as well as Dr. Angela. I am in AD 41. That's in Southern California, the LA, and it goes into San Bernardino County. You can reach me on all my social media platforms at MDM for AD 41, MDM for AD 41. And, you know, I'm sure all of you already saw the meme, but on Instagram, and I'm sure on all the other social media platforms, there was this Black man that was getting on, and he was talking about President Trump, but he reminded me of a biblical verse that is so important, and that is that Jesus came not for peace, but to create division. That we are living in a times where, you know, daughter will go against mother, son will go against father. And so we need to be ready to understand that we have the truth. I'm not telling everybody to stop talking to your family, but this is the time for us to stand up for what is true, what is right, and what is the right way, because Jesus gave us that. And so I hope you guys all remember that as you're getting out there this election season and vote your values. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Really appreciate you. Sonia, go ahead.
I just wanted to again thank everybody for having me on, and I just want to say, Tracy, you are just the most brightest. I love your attitude, and I just want to take some of that from you, if I can, please. My name is Sonia Lito, and I'm running for the State Assembly District 15, which is a big part of Contra Costa County. So we need to protect our California Constitution. And I've said this several times. You know, our Constitution was written in like 1848, 49. It's the 8th largest in the world. It's been amended hundreds of times. And the supermajority that I talk about is on this mission to get 100%, you know, control, to get 100 in Sacramento, to get 100% control in the school of our kids, and to get this Constitution changed. And there, you know, we've seen them already attacking our First Amendment rights. They're attacking us in so many ways, freedom of speech. They're using, you know, our lack of prosecuting. I mean, geez, it might even be legal to actually prosecute criminals again with Prop 36 reform. I mean, this stuff is really crazy. And I wish you all the candidates, I wish you all the best. Get out there, use your voice, educate not only the Republicans, but go after all of those that don't know how our legislature works. Explain to them why there's an imbalance. You know, this is our voice right now, our opportunity. Win or lose, we win because we have this voice. So Sonia Lito, and my website is sonialito.com. And you can get on there for more info. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Katherine, jump in here.
Thank you so much for having me on tonight. My name is Katherine Piccinini, running for Congress District 10 in Contra Costa County. My voice will be one for God, for family, for life, and for country. My yes will be yes, and my no will be an unwavering no. I will not call good evil or evil good. I will not compromise in that. I consider myself a stateswoman rather than a politician. My concern is for all the people. A statesman has certain core values that I will not change to look good, sound good, or to advance a political career. When in office, rather than being concerned about the next election, my concern will be about the next generation. I pledge to be putting the people first. I can be reached at Piccinini 4 Congress.com. I pledge to establish justice, bring domestic tranquility, provide for the defense, promote general welfare, and ensure the blessings of liberty for all. I ask the Lord bless each and every one of you tonight, and God bless America, this land that we love.
Thank you for that, Catherine. Really appreciate you. Okay, let's go to Mario. Go first.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Kim. And thank you, Dr. Angela, for having me. I am Mario Paz. I'm running for State Senate District 33. It's part of Los Angeles County. It's a pretty big district. I'm running for parents' rights, God, and country. You could find me on www.whoismariopaz. Instead of John Galt, I made it Mario Paz. So you can find more information about me and my campaign. And again, thank you for having me here.
Awesome. Thank you, Mario. Appreciate you. Sorry, I didn't realize I had a hot mic, guys. Okay, go ahead, Michael.
Hey, again, like everybody else, I'm grateful for this opportunity. I'm up in District 2, 300 miles of coastline of Northern California. And what I want to do first is answer the question you asked us about, and that's a pathway. I have a friend who actually works for Congressman Lawafa. He's illegal. His wife is a U.S. citizen. They've lived here for 20 years. And he's unable to become a citizen because they tell him he has to go back to Mexico first, and then they won't let him back in. Of course, now he can just walk across. But there needs to be a pathway. But we need to be selective on that pathway, because I do think we need that for those people that are here that are actually doing the things that for their family and for the country. One of the things, again, is that we need to go ahead and stand up for what we believe in with it. And everything about me can be found on my website, MikeGreerAssembly2024.com or at gmail.com, because we're going to flip this seat. People don't realize the changes that are taking place, but I had 20% of the crossover vote in the primary. I need 35% to win the seat, and that's going to happen. I'm thankful that I've been able to listen to everybody, because I've been taking notes for some of the ways to address these issues, as I have 4 debates coming up with my opponent in the next 3 weeks. And so I'm looking forward to using some of these ideas and these thoughts out in the public debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you. And congratulations on your son being part of the transition team. It shows you raised him well, and I'm glad to see he's supporting President Trump. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. J-Rod, jump in here.
Thank you, ladies, for having me, and everybody that's here. I appreciate your time. Again, Joshua Rodriguez, Assembly District 69, Long Beach, Signal Hill, Catalina Island, and Avalon. Again, law and order, parental rights, and the budget are my fundamental platforms. You can follow me on Truth, Instagram, Facebook, and I think all of the other ones under Joshua Rodriguez for Assembly 69. I should pop up. I really appreciate it. God bless you all.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Peter, I don't think you've gone. I don't think Tracy's gone. Do you guys would like to say a closing statement?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to everybody here. And honestly, I know that I'm called to this because I honestly don't enjoy politics. the reality is I'm a man of conviction. You know, I've seen I've considered this the new mission field. You know, there's the scripture in the Bible the Lord reminds me of where he mentions that it almost grieves him that the children of darkness are shrewder than the children of light. And that's because we're not engaged in the civic process. And my conviction is basically to go in there for a very short period and do the right thing and restore power back to where it belongs. Not the Tower Babel sentiment, but back to the people themselves. So I'm running for Congressional District 18. You can find me at everything_Hernandez at Hernandez for Congress on Twitter, social, or X, Truth, and Instagram, Facebook, all of them, Hernandez for Congress. God bless you guys.
Thank you for that. Appreciate you. Tracy, did you want to go? Are you still there, Tracy?
I'd love to. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you again. It is an honor to be with you tonight. My name is Tracy Schroeder. I am running for Assembly District 46 here in California, in Los Angeles. It is the West San Fernando Valley. It is Van Nuys and Panorama City, all the way across the entire West San Fernando Valley, Chatsworth, Encino, Tarzana, all the way into Ventura County, Calabasas, Bell Canyon, Winnetka, West Hills. It is big. And guess what? We've got to flip it, and we can. This one is one of the overlooked areas, but it's winnable because many people who are conservative are disguised as independent voters. And our job right now is simply to wake them up. We've got people calling. We've got people going door to door every single day. And we just need to wake up the neighbors, churches, synagogues, book clubs. And so with help, we can do this. My website is my name, TracySchroeder.com. And it's easiest spelled with the year and my first name, 2024Tracy.com. And as most people know, our assembly seats, the biggest contribution an individual can give is $5,500, but we'll take $5 if you got it, because this is all hands on deck. But I believe that we are called to such a time as this. And my niece sent me a beautiful text today, which was Psalm 18. And one of the parts of it says, God will teach us to bend a bow of bronze. That is what we're doing. It is already a win just by speaking up. And the rest is in God's hands, but we have a part to play and everybody can help. And so anyone who'd like to help out, again, 2024Tracy.com. Let's stand for freedom. Let's stand for religious freedom, our voices, and all of our rights. And these seats can be flipped. And I look forward to celebrating after November 5th together, because we are doing what we are called to do simply by stepping up. So thank you for the encouragement tonight, everyone. What an honor to be with you.
All right. Thank you, Tracy. And Tasha, do you want to go? And then I'll wrap us up. And just before you go, Tasha, I want to let everybody know, all the candidates, all of your information. We have your websites, your handles, and all of that stuff in one area in an article, easy for people to get to. And we will be circulating that, sporadically throughout until we get through this election. So look for it to come out, and then you can just repost it as much as you can.
So I was hopping on earlier, and then Angela took the words right out of my mouth. I just wanted to say thank you so much, Jen and Kim. There's so much that goes into this before the actual day, and they are on East Coast time, and it's always amazing. And I'm talking to Kim at midnight, our time, Cali time, and she's up working on the graphic. And I said, what are you doing awake? So bless you both. May God give you strength. I'm so grateful for your commitment to us here in California, and not forgetting about our candidates that are behind this blue wall of censorship. And you are doing your part, and you're bringing your following and your energy and your talent to be able to help them. And I'm so grateful for that. Dr. Angela, I'm so grateful that you joined us as well, and that you're using your influence and all of your intelligence and your wisdom and compassion and passion and drive to help us as well here in California, because I know you're a fellow Californian, and I'm just so grateful for you. And then to all the candidates, thank you for your time. It's iron sharpens iron. You guys, you all inspire me. You're out there in the front and we're in the back. Just you're my voice as a constituent here in California. And I can't thank you enough. So we're praying for you, and we're going to continue to do whatever we can in the back to try to promote you. So that's it. Have a good night, and thank you for all your time, everyone.
Thanks for that. Paul, did you get to say your last statement, your closing statement, Paul, or did you get skipped?
I got skipped, but it's okay. The best thing for me to say is my name is Paul Jones. I'm running in California Assembly District 62. And I'm running because I don't have a choice. God has got me here, and it's just every single day I have to ask the same question. You know, what am I supposed to do next? This is my next, is getting into office and changing the way things are. The first thing is to get rid of sanctuary. It's got to go. I've heard it, and there are a lot of people who are for it. Close the border. By closing the border, that's going to cut down about 90% of the drugs coming in here. So again, my name is Paul Jones. I would love your vote. Thank you.
And Paul, where can they find your information? What's your website?
It is Paul Jones for State Assembly 2024.com.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Paul. Kim, jump in here.
All right. So I will say this again. You know, this is a powerful resource. Please, please, please use X. That is a free speech platform. I know that some of you are having some issues with your reach or your IDs, and we can help you. We can get you pointed in the right direction to get things fixed for you. Please visit americamission.com. Our new website is up and running, and you can find the article with all of the candidates' information in there, all in one spot, easy to do. And yeah, so just check us out. We are a community of concerned citizens that came together to say, you know, we can't just sit idly by and watch our country be completely dismantled. So we are here to support President Trump and support our country, because we feel that that question needs to be answered. What can you do for your country? We have taken for so long, and you know, now we are awake, and we have got to stand up for what is right and what is true in our nation.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for being here. Appreciate you. Make sure you're following all the candidates, co-hosts, hosts. Really appreciate you guys being down in the audience, sending questions, putting questions in the purple pill. If there's any questions that weren't answered, feel free to drop any of us a DM, and we will get those questions answered. I know we'll probably be doing more of these spaces. And like I said, if you are not in California and you have great candidates like this and you'd like to have a space, get a hold of Kim and she can set it up, because it's really important to support candidates, even if they're not in your district, right? We saw how important it was with Matt Gaetz, and how detrimental it can be with Speaker No Johnson. I hope he finds his Johnson soon, but it's not looking good for him. So that is why we need to vote good people in, because we don't want to be stuck with people like Mike Johnson, right? We want good people in there who's actually going to have a backbone and stand on their principles and values and actually do something to defend the people of their constituency. And not just pay lip service and, you know, give all the attention to foreign lobbies and foreign wars and all that good stuff. So yeah, thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate you. Follow American Mission, follow Kim, follow Angela, follow all of your great California candidates. And if you guys have any problems, or if you guys ever need help, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help you guys out and give you guys a platform to get the message out and help you guys get elected. So. Thanks, guys. Good night. Love y'all. And pray for President Trump and pray for our country, please, because like there's literally 5 assassin crews out there, and they are tweeting out $150,000 bounties on his head. So you need to be praying for President Trump. Love you. Good night, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, Jen. Love you. God bless you. God bless you all. Thank you, Kim and Tasha.
Thank you, Dr. Angela. Thank you, Tasha. Thanks all to candidates. You guys were awesome and really appreciate you all. And thank you, Jen. I love you.
Good night, guys. Love you. There's a delay, so I just let it go for a minute so the people in the audience know what's happening and the room doesn't just automatically end. Good night, guys. Bye.